3, 2,
2,
1.
1.
For the Nations Cup Showdown, I feel a bit of pressure, but it keeps me motivated to try to give my best.
Surely some things didn't go as expected, so I'm trying to come back.
I expect to have very tough battles and hard racing, and maybe some drama.
With the new rivals, we don't know much of them. It's gonna be surely surprising for all of us.
I don't feel any extra pressure.
I think they really deserve this spot in the Showdown.
I expect to be still on the top.
Best of luck for the races.
Welcome to one of the most exciting events in our FIA certified Gran Turismo Championships calendar. It's the World Series Showdown Nations Cup event. 30 drivers are going head-to-head, but only 16 of them will progress to the next rounds of the World Series, which in simple terms means all today's races are super critical. For the drivers who do make it to the grand final, there will be the chance of earning those 10 valuable points to take towards the World Finals at the end of the year. The Nations Cup standings currently look a little bit like this. Hungary's Patrick Blajan leads the pack, closely followed by Valerio Gallo and Tomoaki Yamanaka. But none of these big names will be feeling at all safe, as they know that they're up against 16 Hungary qualifiers from the online series, including 2018 GT champion and legend Igor Fraka. The pressure certainly is on.
Hey guys, I'm back. I'm looking forward to challenge all of you guys. Last year didn't went the way I want, but I've been practicing a lot, and hopefully I can challenge you guys a lot more this season.
I'm really excited about Igor's return to the Nations Cup because he's a good friend of mine and it will be very exciting to race against him. and he's definitely one of the favorites.
I think Nations Cup Showdown will be so exciting. I think everyone will train a lot. We will be ready for giving our best in the races.
新しくネーションズカップに16人の選手が、ライバルとして入ってくるっていうことで楽しみですし、より厳しい戦いになると思うんですけど、ただ今までやってきた経験、それを生かしていいレースをしたいなと思っています。
We know all of them because we all race against them one time, and they all got the same target goals than us.
So it's going to be surprising. It's obviously more competition, more variety, and also it's going to be like a mystery.
For the upcoming round of the Nations Cup Showdown, I don't feel any extra pressure because I know all the drivers are very competitive and anything can happen.
注目の選手は、やはり日本のライバルである宮園拓馬選手はもちろん、イゴール選手もそうですし、あとバレリオ選手。
About Yamanaka is one of those guys like Blajan. He's very aggressive at the right point and always fights with his heart, let's say.
To describe Valerio, he's just being very, very quick. He's practicing a lot, and he will be definitely one of the toughest in the competition, I guess.
If I want to win the Nations Cup Showdown, I'm sure what I have to do is for sure to have a better qualifying lap, but also not to do any mistake.
They're always looking forward to make a double French podium. Two French on a podium will be very cool. It never happened, so why not this time?
優勝するためには強力なライバルと一緒に練習をしてお互いを、リスペクトしながらレースをしていくことが非常に大事だと思います。
Yeah, surely I'm trying to be much stronger to do the comeback, and I want to surely be up again on top.
In a moment, I'll get the thoughts of Tom Brooks and Jimmy Broadbent. But first, let me remind you of the format of today's event in the World Series Showdown. Our 14 current World Series Nations Cup competitors will be joined by 16 more fantastic drivers who've qualified through their performances in the online series across the world. So 30 drivers in all, and they'll be split into two semi-finals with the top 8 finishers in each semi going through to the grand final and securing a place in the next two World Series events. The qualifiers from each semi-finals gain points, and today's grand final offers a maximum of 24 points awarded to the winning driver. And of course, the driver with the most points at the end of the day will be the winner. So which of our big names are most at risk today, and which of our online qualifiers are most likely to steal a place from them in the World Series? So Jimmy, could you please look into your crystal ball? I mean, I assume you have one.
I'll just grab one from behind the desk, actually. We keep it there for special occasions,
I think so,
Knew it.
right? Yeah.
Called it.
I mean, I'm really looking forward to this. There's some big names in semi-final A. Let's have a look, shall we, a bit first at the lineup. We can see some really, really familiar names in there. Patrick Blajan, Baptiste Beauvoir, Giorgio Mangano. A couple of new hitters in there, though, as well.
Yeah, also a lot to lose for these big names. As we say in the World Series, if you do finish outside the top 8 in the semi-final, you don't get to be in World Series 3 or 4. So, big names, a lot of risk. Nikita Moisov as well, someone we're going to be looking at during this. Actually champion in the EMEA series online. So, pretty quick guy, but never really been quick at the events I've seen.
I mean, do you really think, like, our drivers, really kind of relax at all? Like, whether they had a whole load of, new people come in or not, do they ever really relax? I mean, they seem like they're always really just on fire all the time.
I don't think you can afford to, can you?
I don't think so. I mean, someone who was almost so horizontal he was vertical yesterday. So horizontal he was vertical, does that make sense? That's not an analogy that really works.
That's all right, Tom, just
doesn't
go with
matter.
it.
Anyway, Quentin Yahal really performed very well in the manufacturer series.
He was really strong.
Looking forward to seeing how he's going to get on. He's a young gun as well. He's just turned 18 years old and is now finally able to be a part of the GT Championships.
Young and talented. Hate him already.
So we spoke to him about pressure yesterday and he was like, nah, it's fine.
And doesn't feel pressure. This is completely unfair.
Yeah, let's have a look at the semi-final B then, shall we? You've got Valerio Gallo in there, Tomoyuki Yamanaka, Andrew Brooks, etc. Again, some newer names in and amongst the mix, and one who we've got to keep an eye out, of course, Igor Fraga, isn't it?
Fire in his belly this time.
I think that he was so used to sort of winning after a while that he thought, I can take it a little bit easier, and then found out that he really couldn't.
Yeah, definitely.
Of course, 2018 Nations Cup champions. We know the speed's there, but he sort of tapped back into it, I think.
And what about Kanata Kawakami as well? Top in the Asia region. Everyone's been keeping a really, really close eye on him in the online season. And I just wonder whether he's got what it takes to bring it to the top of the boys this year.
I like to think so. Again, Kawakami is another one of these people that is really talented online in his own little space, but when you start putting him under pressure, maybe he starts to crack a little bit. I'm hoping that he sort of moved past that, because we'd like to see fast drivers. But Yeah, I think the pressure's there for him.
Thanks, guys. I can't wait for the next race. The excitement at GT events builds every single time, and every time these drivers meet, it kind of all adds to the drama and the strategies for next time. And they know each other so well, but they still have so much to prove. And to add to all that drama, I can tell you that the car our competitors will be driving in the first semi-final is the Alpine Vision Gran Turismo race mode. Look at it, so sleek and so beautiful, like, not me. Let's see how well it performs on the track.
So, semi-final race A taking part at the Tokyo South Inner Loop here in the Nations Cup. A fantastic circuit to test our drivers, first of all. Very much characterised by long straights and narrow walls as well. Very easy to get things wrong and tag the barrier. Best overtaking spot, they're just there in Sector 2, down at T11. Big slipstream opportunity into hard braking. Pretty much invites anyone to have a go if they think they're hard enough. Go on to the details now. Racing medium and soft compound tyre being used for this. Must be used at least once, so one pit stop at least guaranteed. And the car, well, the car we're using, the Alpine Vision Gran Turismo race mode. Beautiful bit of kit as well. Let's see what our drivers can do with it in the first semi-final.
Qualifying in the Nations Cup for semi-final A was an interesting affair. In the first group of drivers out, it was Nikita Moisov who set the early pace. However, Ryota Kokuben, the Japanese driver, on home soil at the Tokyo Expressway, would soon see to that.
Jose Serrano also looking very fast out there in the Alpine VGT race car, taking provisional pole with a 51.5 angle in the Stroza, though wasn't quite able to match that pace, going a provisional third position.
Not bad at all there for him, but some big hitters for the likes of this Nations Cup Championship. You can see there, Baptiste Beauvoir, only P11. And what about the Hungarian driver Patrick Blajan? Well, sadly, at the checkered flag, it was only P11 for him. Well, let's take a look then and see what it means in the qualifying standings. It's Jose Serrano who takes pole position with Ryota Kokuben alongside him. Inestroza and Moisov are on row 2, but big hitters Blajan and Beauvoir down in 11th and 12th. And of course, they must finish inside the top 8 to make it through to the grand final.
Congratulations to Jose Serrano from Spain for securing pole position in our first semi-final race. And I can tell you that Jose and the other drivers will be watched by a small gathering of GT fans. No, I'm not joking. Please say hello to our viewers in Japan. We've got a fabulous group of staff and guests watching from the Tokyo offices of Polyphony Digital, the company that makes Gran Turismo. So it's kind of a little bit of a busman's holiday. It's so good to see you all. When can we come and see you for real? Now? Can I come? Now? Oh, okay. Well, thanks. I hope you guys have a great day watching all of the races. And wherever you happen to be in the world, you can watch all of these races in all of these languages. I mean, you probably don't want to watch them all at once in those languages, but in the end, it's kind of up to you. Anyway, the time has come. This is our first semi-final.
So here then is how the grid lines up for the Nations Cup race for the World Series Showdown. Our first of 3 races today here at the Tokyo Expressway. First of all, let's see how the grid lines up. It's Jose Serrano who qualifies on pole position for Spain. Playing on that front row is Ryota Kokuben, the Japanese driver on home soil here as well in Tokyo, of course. And Kevin Stroza heads the second row of the grid from Chile. And he has got Nikita Moisov from the Czech Republic for company alongside. Next up then on the grid is Andrew Lee from Australia. And P6 will be Kevin Belic, the Frenchman. P7 on the grid is Sarathan Seelan, the British driver. Let's see how he can fare on the left-hand side of the grid with Matthew McEwen, the Kiwi, alongside him, company in P8. P9 is Nico Romero. Then Adriano Carrazza from Brazil. Just inside the top 10, just outside of the top 10. Patrick Blajan, difficult day at the office so far for him. Can he turn things around? This man here, Baptiste Beauvoir, will also be hoping to do the same. Next up, it's Quentin Yahal from Belgium in P13. And Busnelli alongside him, the Italian for company. The final row of the grid then is the last of our Italians, Giorgio Mangano. How the grid then lines up. So the top 3 drivers then starting on the soft compounded tyres. A rolling start, so don't expect any heroics down in towards that first corner, but strategy-wise, we can see it on the screen there, Jimmy. Do you think that's what they're going to follow, though?
So simple, even I can understand it, really. 5 and 5. We don't think that's going to be the case, though. As usual, they tend to try and stretch the soft tyre for a bit longer if they can. So I reckon we'll see the guys in front have a bit of a longer first stint, and the guys at the back the shorter one.
Well, let's see what is going to happen then. A rolling start for our drivers. Very short run to the line here, and it's a very tight first corner, the left-hander. So let's see what is going to happen then. Right. So, World Series Showdown, semi-final A for the Nations Cup. Our first of 3 races here tonight. The drivers, to remind you, who go through into the grand final have to finish inside the top 8. There are 15 on the grid, so some people are going to lose out. Let's see what happens then as we go green and we go racing. Jose Serrano leads the field of Alpines down towards the first corner for the first of 10 times. Into the first turn they go, and it's Serrano that still leads the way, followed by Kokkerman, followed by Angel Enestrosa. Now they're on a long straight and a long run down in towards the next corner where we could see the slipstream coming into play, but of course the race leader Jose Serrano doesn't have the advantage of that, so let's see what's going to happen here.
Yeah, neat start for the most part. Can't see any action going on down the field. First time to overtake, really coming into this right hand. Anyone going for it? Not that I can see in the background. A little bit of contact between Lee and Moisov. We're still with Jose Serrano right now as we come through the first section, which leads on to a right-hander coming up, and then onto a massive straight. We can see a lot of slipstreaming down there, especially in these Alpine cars. If you can see, they punch a big hole in the air. They don't look like it, but they produce quite a bit of downforce, these things. So a big hole in the air. If you're following close, you're going to get a nice big draft. Here's Serrano then, front of your picture. Kokkerman in second, Angel Enestrosa third at the moment. And just taking their time right now. Tyres won't really make a difference for this bit, but they will in the next section.
He spent the top 3 to pull a bit of a gap out to the medium shot runners from Nikita Moisov back down to 15th position. Riding on board here with the Chilean Angel Enestrosa. You can see the walls there on the outside. It doesn't look that difficult from the outside shots, but I can imagine driving behind the wheel of these machines, it is certainly a very different kettle of fish. You can see on the inside there of Angel Enestrosa and Nikita Moisov there, side by side they go on corner exit. Is Moisov able to make it through? He is. So the medium compound tyre proved to be relatively grippy here for the Chilean driver, but the crucial question is how long is he going to stay ahead? Because of course Enestrosa, that's going to completely muck up his strategy if he gets involved with the medium shot runners.
Yeah, really nice move though by Moisov to get that done. As we say, there is a difference in speed with the softer medium tyre, so it is harder to get by the soft guys if you're in the medium tyre, but Moisov not listening to that, up into third place. He does still have the draft of the guys in front, so this is actually a really strong position for Nikita to be in right now.
You can see one of the unique features actually when these drivers go on the brakes into the first corners. There's an air brake almost as well. Let's see what happens into the hairpin. That's Nikita Moisov's overtake on Enestrosa. You can see them getting really sideways there for Moisov on the corner exit. A nice move, managed to make it through, but it perhaps wasn't the cleanest on the exit of the corner there.
I was going to say a little bit bold, but yeah, I'll allow it. It's all right. But now Enestrosa, he's got the draft on Moisov. Will he go for the overtake again now to try and get back by? Yeah, his little air brake flaps, as you were mentioning, Tom, sort of popping out from the car to help slow it down from top speed. Interesting design. I mean, don't get too close to the wall, you're going to lose one like a windmill.
Yeah, exactly. You can imagine that, can't you? Jose Serrano then still leads the way. Half a second his advantage over Ryota Kokkerman at the moment. Then it's Nikita Moisov, the first of the medium shot runners, having gotten ahead of Angel Enestrosa as it stands. Then it's relatively static throughout the rest of the field. Few drivers have made good gains. Sarathan Seelan, Matt McEwen has gone down a position. Baptiste Beauvoir and Paddy Blajan have exchanged places, and Busnelli and Yahal have also exchanged positions there as well. But for the most part, there's no sort of big winners and losers after the first couple of laps. Let's see whether the strategy, though, as it goes onwards, will change things.
Yeah, just checking in, of course, with those big hitters we mentioned earlier on. Baptiste Beauvoir and Patrick Blajan still 11th and 12th place right now. Again, a reminder, they need to qualify for the grand finals to finish 8th or above, or they do not automatically qualify for the next 2 World Series. And Patrick Blajan is the current points leader, so that'd be a massive upset.
First 2 runners in on the medium tyres are Busnelli and Baptiste Beauvoir. They're going for the soft competitive tyres, so exactly as Jimmy Broadbent predicted a few laps ago, is that they have come in early off of those medium tyres. They're going to try and stretch out that soft and get as much pace as possible.
What you want to do, really. The soft tyre is quite a bit faster than the medium tyre. It will mean that towards the end of this race, though, that both Busnelli and Beauvoir, they'll be struggling a little bit with tyre wear, I imagine. So they've got to make the move now, make the run now, while they have a bit of free space. But saying that, they've not got the draft anymore. There's no draft, so they're going to actually lose out quite a bit in the straight line areas. So I'm wondering if that's the right decision to pit now or not.
Times 12 tyre wear as well. These soft tyres that the drivers are changing over to after 2 laps, they're going to be absolutely shot by the end of this race.
Yeah, pretty much the equivalent of driving in the wet tyres and the dry. Not that I know anything about that or anything.
Yes. Anyway, so you can see as we ride on board here with Ryota Kokkerman through the hairpin bend, then onto the back of Jose Serrano. Is he going to find his way past here, or is he just going to sit behind him and try and save his fuel, save his tyres, and just keep a watching brief, essentially. Keep it close, but not try and challenge too much. Through into the right-hander. I mean, if you're Ryota Kokubun here, Jimmy, what are you doing?
You're in control here, really. I mean, Serrano is out front, sure, but it doesn't matter where you are until you cross the line on that last lap. So as long as you're not being harried from behind, I think Kokubun, he has he can wait and just make the move on the last lap, use this draft. Because leading here is not a good thing. You're seeing Ryan, Angelina Stroh's got the draft on Nikita Moisov now. He's going to drive by, and no, he almost did. The thing is, you can't really go 2x2 for this section, because there is one line in these cars when you're doing 280k. If you do go 2x2, it's going to be an almighty accident as little air brake swap out there. Kind of cute. There's something waving at you. But Moisov decides he doesn't want to wave anymore, comes into the pit lane, onto the soft compound tyre. So is everybody behind him as well. So the second part of the race starts then for the medium runners.
So 3 medium runners have stayed out then. They have not made their pit stop. So everybody from first down to 6th place has not made their stop then in this race. So Moisov into the pits. He goes onto the soft compound tyre. Where is he going to emerge in relation to the man he was battling with, Evangelina Stroza? You would imagine right close to him as well. Out of the pit lane they come. Moisov is ahead. Where is Inestrosa? In fact, Inestrosa looks like he's lost a bit of time as a result. In fact, sorry, Inestrosa has not made his pit stop, rather, I should say. I'm getting myself all confused. So, Moisov emerges in 7th place, but he's got a bit of clear air in front of him. That's what he wants.
Clear air's the enemy here, Tom, I think, honestly. As I said, Kokubun's in the best place. He's got a fast guy in front of him. He's just drafting. And that's what you need to do around here. You need to have that draft. And it's almost like a super speedway, this circuit. So much of it is full throttle that working together is the best way to pull away from those around you.
So here is Kevin Bellich then. We've hardly mentioned him over the course of this race. He's got Nico Romero very close behind it, all in the slipstream there. You can see the blue flag there waving, but they are actually battling for position, and it's a big old group of cars. So this is kind of what we're used to seeing here at the Tokyo Expressway. As you said, Jimmy, a big old slipstream battle, and that is exactly what is taking place once again. Baptiste Beauvoir there down in 12th position as it stands. Of course, he has made his pit stop, but so has everybody else in front of him. He has got a lot of work to do to get himself into that grand final, and as you said earlier on, into the World Series 3 and World Series 4 events.
Yeah, the early stop really wasn't the best idea for those two, and they've really paid the price now. It's going to be a big ask for them to get up into the top 8. Meanwhile, Ryota Kokubun maybe looking now, finally at making a move on Jose Serrano, thinking, well, you're getting a bit slow now, dude. Come on, let's get on with it. Oh, they're side by side. I think Serrano might have just tagged the wall there on the exit, slowed him down a little bit. So Serrano down to 2nd place, Kokubun then up into 1st. How long is he going to run this soft tyre for? So, bearing in mind these guys came in on lap 3 or so, does that mean about end of lap 6, end of lap 7 we expect to stop from these fellas?
Well, let's wait and see what happens. The last medium shot run is now coming into the pit lane. Mangano, Silan and McEwen all into the box, changing over to the soft compound tyre. But the soft drivers who started on the soft tyres on the start of this race are continuing on. So Kokubun, Serrano and Angelina Stroza still run on the start of lap number 4.
You've got to think of it as like a school of fish, so to speak. It's better to stay with everybody in these races, otherwise you just end up sort of on your own and punching your own hole through the air. I can speak, but now, and that slows you down. So that's what Serrano's doing right now. The roles are somewhat reversed. Kokubun's now punching the hole. Serrano's just following behind, but they've got a bit of a gap in the Stroza behind, but they can't really afford to fight too much. Here's Baptiste Beauvoir up into P9, so now actually only 1 position away from that all-important 8th position.
Fastest lap last time around for Baptiste Beauvoir. He is a man on the move, as you can see, in the literal and figurative sense. So he's right behind Adriano Carrazza. Is he going to think about finding his way past before too long? Through into the left-hander they go to start the halfway point in this race we're now on. This is the long run down. Of course, Carrazza has the advantage of the slipstream in front, and as we saw, you can get 2x2 coming through this section here, but you need to have a willing dancing partner. You can see there pulling out of the slipstream goes Adriano Carrazza onto the brakes, into the hairpin, very close indeed in front. Nico Romero going defensive. Baptiste Beauvoir tries for the outside line. Is he going to have track position to make a move? He's not quite there, but in front, Bellich and Lee are going side by side. Bellich in 5th position, Lee now into P6. Really close between these guys, and the thing is, if one of them makes a mistake, look at there's so many cars following, it's just going to cause a concertina effect.
Yeah, Bellich, I think, is just holding these guys up now. Not quite quick enough to lead the train, so to speak. Kind of actually emulates the traffic on the real-life Tokyo Expressway, this, as they go down through the tunnel there. And you can see it really is just one line through here. You have to be on it as everyone tries to extend the course as much as they can. Lee then looking for maybe a move finally on Bennett. No, can't do it now, but might have a go down the hairpin. Here you go, good overspeed there. Bennett's going defensive. Romero was trying to go up the inside too. Karatza's there. We know Karatza likes to extend. 3 wide in the middle there as we go into the hairpin. Who's going to come out on top? Lee's out wide. Who's on the inside? Bennett's there's got the inside line, so he's all right. Lee, I think, stays in the 4th. Romero 7th. They all came through there in one piece. I am absolutely amazed by that.
Yeah, it's more by luck than judgment, I think, to be fair, but these guys do race with each other quite a lot. They know each other very well indeed. Through into the right-hander they go. Still Belic holds on to the lead of this battle in P5 as it stands for now, but you can imagine it will be changing before too long. Beauvoir at the back of the field is the fastest man of the lot, or at least was last time around. In fact, that's now changed because Patrick Blajan down in P14 is the quickest man on track, and of course, as we said, the drivers who finish inside the top 8 will progress through to that grand final. At the moment, it's this man here on the bubble, Adriano Karatza.
Got to start making those moves. If you're a bit further down now, you're running out of laps, of course. Now, Karatza, we know Karatza, he likes a big old send, does Karatza. Any opportunity, he'll whack one on the inside for about 40 miles back. So we're coming down now to the hairpin. I can't help but wonder if he's starting to think, you know what, these guys in front are a bit slower than me. Shall I go for a move or not? He can come down then. There's Bennett on the inside. Oh, there he goes. As if on cue, Karatza fancies that. Takes the place away from Romero, though. A little bit slow on the exit, but he got Romero and Lee there, I think. He just jumped everybody.
Hugely impressive there for Adriano Karatza. What a dive bomb that was on the brakes. And amazingly, he managed to make it stick. The good thing about that hairpin, there's so much runoff, you can afford to make a bit of a send, and if you do make a mistake and run it too deep, there is enough room to gather it all up. But Karatza there, I don't know how he kept that on the straight and narrow, but somehow he did. It paid off beautifully.
I like to imagine him just whacking both feet on the brake pedal. Oh no! Stopping it just on a dime. So, sorry, Lee's in 5th place there. So I mistakenly said that Karatza got Lee, but just a bit of a change of position up there. Will Karatza now have a go at these two leading the train? So Lee 5th, Bennett in 6th. Karatza's now pushing those guys along. Romero's there too. So Bennett goes to the outside. Now Karatza's looking to the inside. Big lunge inside for Karatza. Where is he? There he is. So the Brazilian comes in there. Bennett turns in, but there's a car there on the inside. You can't do that, mate. Karatza takes 6th place. This is great driving with the Brazilian. I really enjoy watching this.
Yeah, Karatza always puts on a good show for our drivers, and that is exactly what he is doing here out on track at the moment. There is Andrew Lee then with a bit of a gap now back to Adriano Karatza. Half a second it sits at as they come through the right-hander. Then they're going to flick it left. The train continues on there. And a penalty there for Southland Sealand. You can see that because he probably has been grinding the wall a little bit too much, and as a result of that he's gained an advantage, and basically the stewards have been keeping a real close eye on drivers because of course there's no runoff here. You can't extend the track as such. If you do not lose time when you hit the wall and you're gaining an advantage, well, that's what they'll award a half-second penalty for, and that's what he's been awarded. So at the very worst, it's going to drop into the back of this group. At the very best, it won't cost him too much time if it begins to spread out.
He's going to get sent to the back, I think, Tom. A 0.5 second deceleration here. It's not deceleration, it's a 0.5 second break. Now going to move you right to the back with how close this train is right now. But again, coming down to the first hairpin where all the action seems to happen. Bennett's then looking at the inside of Beauvoir. Now, this is where Beauvoir is. 2 Frenchmen, 8th and 9th. Currently, only one of them is going through to the grand final. We've got a replay here. Spirito Kokibun and Jose Serrano. It looks like Serrano fancies to go back in the lead. He does up the inside. Serrano retakes the lead from Kokibun. Angelo Nestroza, he's still there in the background. He's waiting. He's biding his time.
Yeah, he is. I wonder what his plan is going to be. Oh, well, he's right on the back now of the leading duo. Here comes Kokibun, and then up the inside of Jose Serrano, really deep into there, but they come in towards the pit lane then to finally make their stops. So they're going to go onto the medium competent tyre. Fuel, not a concern in this race. It's all about tyres. They're going to go onto the medium tyres for the final 3 laps then in this race. Meanwhile, here you can see Andrew Lee defending with all of his talent from the back of Adriano Karatza. Into the pit box comes Ryota Kokibun then, so onto the medium competent tyre. They're going to change onto that. Where are they going to emerge? Well, they're going to emerge behind Nikita Moisov. So Moisov's strategy of starting on the medium compound tyre and coming out on the soft tyres early doors has paid off beautifully here.
Did Serrano get on the throttle out of the pit lane there? I feel like he didn't get on the throttle because I feel like Kokibun ran into the back of him coming out of the pit lane, and that slowed them all right up. But Nikita Moisov, masterstroke. We weren't even watching him really. He was there just going along in 4th place. We kind of forgot he was there, to be honest. And then just comes flying through the pit stops. And he's got, more importantly, a gap of 2 seconds, so he's outside the tow. He's away. He's free.
Well, that's beautiful there for Nikita Moisov. What a fantastic strategy for the driver from the Czech Republic. And if it stays as it is, he'll be dead set for 8 points in this race. as the checker flag does fall. Let's see whether Serrano, Cockburn and Inestrosa are going to work together to try and close down the deficit. But the thing is, it's all well and good doing that, but there's not much time left in this race to be able to do that. Meanwhile, I'm just looking at the other end of the timing screen. Patrick Blajan with a penalty down the bottom there. Where on earth has Blajan's pace been all this race? Come back to that thought in a few moments. Here comes Beauvoir trying to have a sneaky look on the inside of Belic there. Hall is on the outside there, his fellow French-speaking compatriot. Beauvoir's now on the inside of Belic on the exit of the hairpin there. Side by side, getting very dicey indeed. Hall's now on the inside of Beauvoir as they flick it into the left-hander. Well, there's lots of action taking place here. Beauvoir's trying to challenge on the inside of Hall, but Hall's trying to hold it around the outside. There's contact between the two there. On the outside of the background, Matt McEwen's getting involved in the mix here as well, and Beauvoir does lose a place now, down into P10 for the Frenchman.
That's a really opportunistic move there by Hall to get by Baptiste Beauvoir. He was past Belic. I think he just got in the front a bit too aggressively and the car stepped out. He had to correct it, lost all the momentum. And when you've got 8 cars behind you, how many cars are back there waiting to get through, you cannot afford to do that. And that's absolutely terrible for him. Carrazza, though, still on the warpath up front. Now looking at Lee, trying to get by him up into 5th place. But a reminder, only the top 8 go through to the grand final. And if you're not inside the top 8, you're 9th to 15th, then you lose any automatic place in round 3 and round 4, So this is going to be absolutely disastrous for people like Baptiste Beauvoir and Patrick Blajan, because Blajan's nowhere and Beauvoir's now down in 10th.
Well, this is going to be very, very big for the championship if it stays as it is. At the moment, the big hitters of Baptiste Beauvoir, Patrick Blajan, are going to be out as it stands. So coming through in towards the left-hander we go. We're on lap number 8, starting the 9th lap. And here then is Patrick Blajan, and just what a dog's day it's been. He's just had no pace in this car at all, is he really?
This is kind of typical Patrick Blajan, really. One day he's as hot as anything, and the other day he's just completely gone. This is one of those days where he's just not there, not turned up. Oh well. So, his loss is someone else's gain. Lee is one of those people there, still managing to hold 5th place quite impressively there from Adriano Carrazza. Bear in mind that Carrazza, he's well known for his aggression. And I say that, I've got a feeling we've got a Brazilian on our inside somewhere. Is he there? There he is! I knew that he was there somewhere, because Lee was a little bit slow on the exit there, and I thought Carrazza must be alongside there. I was popped by Carrazza up into 5th place. I'm sorry, I was praising him, but well, you know what, I'll be quiet.
The thing is, with those onboard shots of the cars as well, that the peripheral vision's not as easy to see. I can imagine for our drivers it's a very different kettle of fish as well. Nikita Moisov still keeping the gap to the race leaders at 2.1 seconds as it stands. Adriano Carrazza now into P5. Let's have a look at a replay of some action down in towards the hairpin. Jonathan Seelan on the inside. This is Beauvoir versus Belic. This is how he lost those positions. In fact, no, this is how he gained a position on Kevin Belic there, his fellow Frenchman. So managed to make his way up into P8. At the moment, he'll just be scraping his way through, but Belic is trying to put pace to that. Look on the inside there at Mangano with a big old dive bomb. There was definite contact between himself and I think at least 2 other competitors going into there. They all keep it on the straight and narrow, but you can't be doing that too much, otherwise the stewards will be getting their rule book out.
Yeah, they're very grumpy, the stewards, right now. They've not been fed for a while, so be careful with them. Gogibin, though, still there in P3. At some point, he must have thought he was fighting for a win, but of course, Nikita Moisov, that gap's still about 2 seconds, by the way, as we come on to now start the last lap of the race. It's looking really good for the Czech driver out front, and Gogibin, will he ever go at Serrano at this point and try and make 2nd place? Because look at the train, they've all been caught up. Anglin Estrosa, Carrazza, Lee. That second group now has become pretty much the entirety of the rest of the field, with Nikita Moisov just sort of chilling out front.
So then through into the left we go on the start of the final lap, and this is getting very exciting indeed, because Rios Cockburn is going to have to keep a watchful eye on his mirrors, because you know Angel Inestrosa is going to try and mount a challenge if he can. He's very aggressive in Inestrosa. We've seen his brilliant racecraft there as well. Adriano Carrazza's keeping a watching brief on things. Inestrosa has a sneaky look almost there on the inside of Cockburn, but isn't quite able to make anything stick as it stands. I wonder if he's going to be thinking about a bit later on in the lap perhaps.
He may well do. I'm just keeping an eye also on Baptiste Beauvoir, still currently just making it through to the grand final. I'm going to keep one eye on that as we look back to the front. Serrano, Cockburn, Inestrosa, Carrazza, Lee and Romero all in your picture. There is Baptiste Beauvoir now on his own in P8. He's not going to drop. Oh, he's touched the wall. He's touched the wall next to him. Must have surely slowed him down. It has. And that means that Jehol is now right on the back of him, or is about to be. And of course here, where top speed is everything, I want to see what's going on back there.
Let's see what happens here. Meanwhile, at the front of it, on board, here we are with Angel Inestrosa. Ryota Kokman really keeping a watching eye on Jose Serrano, more than a watching eye. It's going to be 3 wide, surely down into the hairpin then. Inestrosa's on the inside, Serrano in the middle, Kokman on the outside. Way too late on the brakes there for Inestrosa. He's never going to get that stopped in the month of Sundays. Sideways as well. Kokman goes through, Carrazza goes through, Inestrosa goes from a potential podium place down into P5. Well, that is very disappointing indeed there for Inestrosa. It was always going to be opportunistic, and it just hasn't paid off for the Chilean driver. We ride on board here with Jose Serrano then through into the final series of corners, and it's going to get very exciting indeed between these drivers. Through into the final corner we go though with Nikita Moisov. The Czech driver takes the checkered flag in semi-final A. Brilliant stuff from Moisov. He wins semi-final A ahead of Serrano and Kokman in third position. Carrazza in fourth, Inestrosa inside P5, and Baptiste Beauvoir has been mugged on the final lap by Yahal, so he misses out. Final standings then after semi-final A: Moisov, Serrano, Kokman on the podium. Carrazza, Inestrosa, Lee, Romero and Yahal are the drivers that make it through. Beauvoir, Seeland, Belic, McEwen, Blajan, Busnelli and Mangano all miss out on the grand final and their spots in World Series 3 and 4.
What an outstanding performance by Nikita Moisov from the Czech Republic, who's with me now. Nikita, how are you doing after that?
I'm doing great, thank you.
I mean, that was some really great strategizing. Was that your plan from the start? Because it was brilliantly executed.
It was my plan from the start, actually. I have practiced this race starting on the medium tire, and I have teammates and I practiced that with them, so I knew that medium tire could stay with the soft tire.
When you went into that final pit, I was like, oh, I don't know where he's going to come out. And then suddenly you were just so far ahead and you just had plain sailing.
Yeah, it felt really good. At first, I wasn't sure if the guys in front of me were on mediums or on soft tires, but then when I changed to soft tires and I realized they were on softs, I realized I can undercut them like by a pretty big margin.
And you probably even missed the scrapping that was going on right behind you for second, third and fourth just in that final lap. So it's just all plain sailing. What a textbook execution there, Nikita. Well done. OK, joining us now is Patrick Blajan, who is from Hungary and who came into 13th. Patrick, how are you doing?
Hello, Julia.
So, Patrick, you went into this as the leader of the World Series, and obviously this is not the result that you want. I mean, what went wrong?
It wasn't a really good combination for me, but I'm really happy for Nikita. He did amazing, and yeah, I hope to improve on that combination.
I mean, it's obviously very frustrating for you. Obviously, you're not going to be in the next couple of world tours, but obviously you do have, you know, the ability to come back to the, the finals through the online series. But what are you going to do to kind of like change your strategy? Because we need you in that final, Patrick. You belong there.
I don't know. I think I will practice harder because I practice this combination a lot, but I think it's really not for me. And yeah, I have to keep going.
We know you're going to bounce back because you've been around since we've been doing Gran Turismo live. So we will no doubt see you soon for the final. Just keep practicing.
Okay, thanks.
All right, take care, Patrick. Now, we are talking to Quentin Yahal, who is 18 years old, from Belgium, finished in 8th. Quentin, how are you doing? You've been doing incredibly well.
Yeah, it was quite difficult coming from 13th on the grid. But in front of me there was a lot of battling, and I just tried to make my way through without trying to hit the others, of course.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very, very tricky, circuit for overtaking. But to move up all those places on that particular track was incredibly well done. And obviously, you're quite new to Gran Turismo. How are you finding all this? I mean, are you still quite calm when you race? Did it feel any different to just practicing at home, as it were?
Well, I've been playing the game since late 2017, so I'm not really new to the game, only to the online events. So for me, it's just the same as any other online race.
Oh, you're just so casually cool. Oh, it's totally fine, no pressure. Well, I'm going to hold you to that, because obviously you are doing incredibly well, and we're going to be seeing more and more of you, no doubt, in the future. But huge congratulations, Quentin.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Right, Tom and Jimmy are in the GT garage to reflect on that very first semi-final.
Well, Tokyo, it always seems to deliver, doesn't it?
I think it's just that weird mix of it being a street circuit and being incredibly quick. So you make a small mistake, you end up paying for it in a big way. We saw that a couple of times with a couple of key drivers.
Yeah, absolutely right. There are a couple of key moments in that one. No other greater one than this one here. Nikita Moisov, early pit stop in this race, getting himself out of the traffic here. And we kind of thought at the time, I'm not really sure that's the right decision.
I'll tell you what, he proved me wrong. I thought, well, that's it. He's thrown away his any chance of winning now. He's out of the slipstream. But actually, after running in clear air for a couple of laps, you can see where Jose Serrano and Rita Koch have been pitted. Look, come out the pit lane. There goes Nikita Moisov. Thanks, mate. I'll take that. 2 seconds up the road and just drove to the end of the race like he owned it, unchallenged.
Yeah, a brilliant race victory. And this is what it meant to the Czech driver. A simple thumbs up. Sometimes words aren't needed, though, are they? That's the thing.
I know,
there we are.
That's enough.
But the thing is, as well, it's only the start of it. It's only semi-final A. They've still got the grand finals to come a bit later. So.
Yeah, exactly. So it's sort of started for me to go on. I think for Moisov, even though it was a subdued reaction, that's going to mean a lot to him going forward.
And one of the big moments in the race as well, or a couple of the big hitters, Patrick Blajan, Baptiste Beauvoir, not making it through. Let's talk about Baptiste Beauvoir. Here we are on board with Quentin Hall, 18 years old, his first ever World Series event. You saw just before there, Baptiste Beauvoir clipped the wall on the outside, and then Hall had the run, and look what happened.
I think to be fair to him, even that clip on the wall, he still would not have been able to defend. See how long this straight is? I say it's a straight, it's not really a straight, but it's a long flat out section. You can use the draft of the car in front. Baptiste Beauvoir goes defensive straight away, as of course I think anyone would do. Quentin goes around the outside, gets a little bit of a bump from behind, but then Beauvoir tries to send it in deep to the braking centre to make up for lack of speed into the corner, and just goes wide. Quentin cuts underneath, and that's it, 8th place won, and more importantly, of course, through to the grand final.
Yeah, hugely impressive stuff from Quentin Hall, and this is what it meant to him. There we are, a nice fist pump in the air. And again, just words aren't really needed. He's ecstatic with that, and he's knocked out not one, but also 2 big hitters didn't make it through. Patrick Blajan failing as well.
Yeah, Patrick Blajan completely out of it, really. And of course, bear in mind, he is our current points leader in the World Series, which is insane to think that he's not even going to be here for the grand final, or he doesn't qualify for World Series 3 or 4. So that's massive for Patrick.
Yeah, let's take a look, shall we, at the standings then. So this is how it sits after the semi-final A. Moisov, Serrano, Kokobin, Karatza, Inestrosa, Lee, Romero and Hall will make it through. Baptiste Beauvoir, Patrick Blajan, as Jimmy said, miss out on World Series 3, World Series 4 and a spot today in the grand final.
Well, that was an exciting first semi-final, and we've got the second semi coming up right now. Our drivers will be competing in this. It's the Renault Sport RS01 GT3. It's a Group 4 car which will vary things up for our drivers. Let's pop over to the track and find out how they get on in qualifying.
So, semi-final B in the Nations Cup takes us to Interlagos, a circuit, as we always like to say, very much of 2 halves. First sector characterised by 2 long straights. Good for overtaking zones, definitely down there at T1 and T2. The middle sector being all about technical driving and how well our drivers can carry speed through those tighter corners. The car we'll be using today is a Renault Sport RS01 GT3 car, a very quick machine. Racing medium and soft tyres being used over a 13-lap race. Tyre wear set at 6 times, so those soft tyres aren't going to last very long through that middle section.
Let's remind ourselves what happened in qualifying for semi-final B then. The first group saw Kanaza Kawakami taking the early spoils. The Japanese driver going to the top of the pile, but not for long, because the man on home soil who knows his track like the back of his hand, Igor Fraga, soon bettered that lap times into the 1:27.9s. But then Takumi Miyazono got himself onto the front row of the grid before the next group headed out, and Koke Lopez tried to challenge for that front row, wasn't quite able to make it though.
No, not quite. Tomioka Yamanaka as well, looking quick in the middle sector, but wasn't quite able to pit Fraga, but very, very close indeed. And then Valerio Gallo came from nowhere and stomped the entire field. A full 10th clear of Igor Fraga, who's driven this circuit in real life.
Absolutely. Here are the standings then for qualifying, and here's how the grid lines up. It's Gallo and Fraga on the front row of the grid, Miyazono and Yamanaka on the second row. Be interesting to see how they all fare with a standing start here for semi-final B.
Congratulations to Valerio Gallo from Italy for securing pole position for our second semi-final. Wow. All right, come on, Tom and Jimmy, what's up next?
We love Interlagos, don't we? It's just such a cool track. It's just, you know, so much history, so much prestige there, full of fast and flowing corners, some technical ones as well. I mean, what do you love about it?
That middle sector, Tom, absolutely awesome. Super technical and definitely a driver's area, I guess, in the circuit. If you get that right, you're going to set yourself up for a good lap time, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And we break the circuit down into 3 sectors as well. 2 real sort of overtaking hotspots for us in this one. The Senna-S going into T1 and the Descida de Largo at the end of the Retro-Reposta into T4 as well. Let's take a look then, shall we, at the Senna-S. An overtake here happening in the Manufacturer Series World Finals last year. We're on board with Mikael Hazal. He sends it down the inside of the Citroen, loads of room on the inside, uses the curbs, takes the advantage, gets the position, nice and clinical.
Well, that was a lovely bit of gushing from you both about that circuit. Love it. So we're now ready for our second semi-final in the World Series Showdown Nations Cup edition. So it's time to head over to the track.
Here's the drivers then lined up on the grid, ready for a standing start at the Autodromo de Interlagos for semi-final B of the Nations Cup. And it's Valerio Gallo who starts on pole position for Italy. Alongside him in the front row, the hometown hero, Igor Fraga from Brazil. Next up on the grid is Takuma Miyazono, a great qualifying lap from our 2020 champion. He's got Tomoki Yamanaka for company alongside. Next up on the grid is Kanata Kawakami, 3 Japanese drivers inside the top 5 here for semi-final B. Koke Lopez joins him on the 3rd row of the grid. Next up, it is Lucas Benelli, the second of our Brazilians. And alongside him is Adam Tapai from Hungary. Hopefully he'll have a better run of form than Patrick Blajan did in semi-final A. Marza, the Argentine, lines up P9. Completing the top 10 will be Randall Haber from the United States of America. Just on the fringes of the top 10 was Andrew Brooks, the Canadian. And next up then will be Tatsuya Sugawara. P13 will be Jonathan Wong from Hong Kong, China. Good to see him back in the World Series with Danny Solis alongside him for company in P14. And P15 last on the grid will be Mark Pinnell. Tyre strategy then, Jimmy, what do we reckon?
Well, again, soft and medium compounds being used today. You imagine we'll see the soft compound be used by the fast guys at the start, probably about half the race. Same for the medium compound at the tyre, but I reckon medium's going to be like lava. Get rid of that as soon as you can. Graph it down the bottom, just to confirm.
Well, there we are, 13 laps for our drivers as we get ready then to go racing. 5 red lights on, semi-final B for the World Series Showdown. Lights out and we go racing then. Good start from Igor Fraga off the front row of the grid. He immediately jumps Valerio Gallo as they come down towards the Senna-S. Gallo getting a poor getaway. Yamanaka's on the outside of the Italian there, not able to find his way through. It's Fraga that leads the way down through the Senna-S as they come through the left-hander, down through the Retro-Reposta. They're all going to be really bunched up here, and this is our first opportunity to see how effective the slipstream at the Autodromo de Interlagos is going to be. But it's Fraga then who's out in front from Gallo, from Yamanaka, from Miyazono as they go into the Descida de Largo for the first time.
Okay, I don't think anyone really had a good start there. I think Fraga's was just better than the rest, got away from the grid, jumped Valerio Gallo. Great start for him round here. Of course, that hard work already done, and now he'll lead the pack into the middle sector for the first time. Now through the long right hand, a lot of understeer here. If you push a little bit too hard, then brake very heavily for this right-hander. Tuck the car into the curb on the inside. Same for this left-hander. There's a little bit of camber here that you can use to tuck the car in. Then up the hill we go. Valerio Gallo chasing Fraga. Yamanaka behind Miyazono there as well. Koke Lopez has managed to get past Kawakami, so he's up into 5th position now. But Fraga still needs the back as we come down to the last corner.
Expect the soft tyre runners to pull out an advantage over the medium shod. So 4 drivers starting on the soft. Fraga, Gallo, Yamanaka and Miyazono, and already the gap sits at 0.8 of a second to Koke Lopez, the first of the medium runners in P5 as it stands. Not much movement in the upper half of the field. Lower down, there's a few drivers exchanging positions, but nothing really happening too much as they come over the timing line then to complete the first lap of 13. Down in towards the Senna-S we go, riding on board here with Takuma Miyazono through into the left-hander. And of course, just to remind you, the drivers who finish inside the top 8 will progress through to the grand final and crucially will secure their places in World Series 3 and World Series 4. Now, tyres are up to temperature. Let's take a look at the replay of the race start though. Gallo, lots of wheel spin.
You don't mind to see that, just a little bit too aggressive there on the right foot. And once the wheels start spinning, there's not much you can really do apart from ride it out. Here's Koke Lopez, getting a great great start there. Kawakami got a little bit bunched up on the inside behind Miyazono. Lopez saw the gap, took it up into 5th place. Nice move there by Koke.
Lovely job there from the Spaniard as we ride on board with him, coming down in towards the infield section of the lap there. You can see Fraga not really able to pull out an advantage over Valerio Gallo, who's right on the Brazilian's rear wing as it stands. So Fraga, Yamanaka and Lopez are the drivers who've made some ground in the opening stages. A bit further down the order, looks like Tatsuya Sugawara has been a man on a move. He's now up into P10 from his 12th place starting grid slot. But it'll be interesting to see whether he can make a bit of progress, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens in terms of the strategies here as well, because as you said, Jimmy, these medium short runners are probably going to want to run this for as little time as possible.
Yeah, get rid of the tyre while you can, but of course the middle sector around here, it's a bit of a tyre eater, so you have to think, really, is it worth it to get them the soft early, because otherwise you might end up at the end of the race just not being able to fight anybody because your tyres are gone. Very real scenario. Takumi Miyazono on board with him right now, chasing his fellow countryman as we come down towards T1. 270 k's before you hit that middle pedal coming down to the first corner of the centre S. Use all the curb on the inside, same with this right-hander as well, but you've got to be careful through there. You can quite easily go a bit too far and ping the old track limits, which is an automatic 0.5 second penalty, and you don't want that when you're running so close together.
No, the stewards will be keeping a watchful eye on any discretions in terms of driving there as well. Look at how close Valerio Gallo is on the back of Igor Fraga. Now he's sat there. What do you think he's going to be doing? Is he going to be lifting down the Reta Reposta going into the Decida Largo? Is he going to just be keeping a watching brief on Fraga?
Not much really you can do right here, just sort of wait for your chance to pounce as it stands. You know, these, as I said, these soft tyres, every lap is going to be different because of the tyre wear multiplier. They're going to just get worse and worse as the race goes on. So if you can keep your tyres alive a bit better than the guy in front of you, then maybe towards the end of the stint you can just put a little cheeky move. You know? just get by when the guy in front's not expecting it. This front four, as expected, putting away from the rest of the pack. And what these guys do now is going to directly, of course, influence where they are when they come up the pits towards the end of the race. They want to try and build as big a gap as possible, because when they go onto the medium compounder tyre, they're going to be the slower cars, they're going to be the ones under fire.
And if they're able to pull out a big gap, if you're Koke Lopez, Kanata Kawakami, the drivers who are, I guess, in the immediate impact of what happens with these front four, are you going to be thinking about doing an alternate strategy to try and pounce on these guys?
There's not much you can really do in terms of alternate strategy. It's pretty clear cut. You go from one tyre to the other. Here's Valerio Gallo waiting. I thought he might look around the outside there. Of course, Igor Fraga's not the man who's going to give you the space around here. I know we say it a couple of times, but Igor Fraga, of course, real-life racing driver as well. Tons of experience in GT, 2018 Nations Cup champion. Valerio Gallo, our Olympic Virtual Series winner. What an amazing field we have here, and of course behind them Takumi Miyazono, 3-time champ last year. So this field right here is absolutely stacked.
So through to the left-hander of the Decida Largo, these four drivers go once again. Lap 4 out of 13 we are already on. It's a very fast-paced circuit, an average of a 1:29 lap time here we saw in qualifying. And these drivers doing a brilliant job out there on track of keeping their race pace up. Sorry, 1:27 we saw in qualifying, 1:29 now in race pace, I should say. But into the middle sector there, these four drivers just keeping themselves on a watching brief. That gap increasing ever more so as they don't squabble amongst one another. Now up to 3.3 seconds here to Koke Lopez.
It is tempting to do that, but this is what smart driving looks like. You might think, okay, let's just all send it at each other, make the places now while we're together. But it's almost like riding sort of in a peloton, isn't it? Just making sure you've got that the nice slipstream of the car in front, all working together to go a little bit quicker and not fall into the clutches of the guys behind. That gap, by the way, 3.5 seconds now back to Koke Lopez, who heads to that second group after his great overtake of Kawakami on the first lap. On board now Miyazono. He's not too bothered, is he? He's all right where he is, P4. The guys up front actually starting to move a little bit. Now that's interesting, Gallo there, moving offline to stay out of the draft. I think what you don't want to do is get off the throttle early on the straight here, because that can really disturb your run and, of course, open you up to attack from behind. And Yamanaka, we know how aggressive he is, so he doesn't need inviting twice.
No, and the thing is, fuel shouldn't be too much of a factor given the duration of this race. So it's not like they need to be saving fuel, like lifting off the throttle and lifting and coasting, as we've seen in the longer duration of races. Keep an eye out for the grand final coming in a few moments' time. We haven't told you all about it yet, but there is a very exciting car and circuit combination for our drivers to contend with.
It's very good. We've seen the brief and looking forward to that one. But as you're saying, no concerns on fuel around here. Tom, you can bang it off a limiter like a tyre power owner. Have just tons of fun with the thing. Don't worry so much about the fuel. Just worry about where you are on circuit. Now, Gallo still very patiently sort of in this sandwich with Fraga and Yamanaka either side of him. And tell you what, it's really great seeing these guys all on circuit together. I'm not sure we've seen a direct Gallo versus Fraga fight yet, and we've been waiting for this because these are sort of now two of the big hitters here in the GT Sport multiverse.
Well, do you know what it reminds me of? Do you remember Mikael Hazal when he won in 2019? He said, yeah, I did win, but I'd love to have won against Igor on track. Everybody wants to beat Igor, don't they? And I tell you what, Valerio Gallo, despite getting a bit on the curb there and losing a little bit of time and a bit of drive, if he can bring the fight to Igor Fraga, that will be such a confidence boost for him.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Gallo is someone who I think is very easily affected by emotion. We see him when he wins things, when he loses, he takes it very hard, or it's a joyous occasion for him. So that would definitely be a big deal. So we're getting the first of our stoppers coming in on lap 6 here, pretty much the halfway mark, just before it. And they're going to come and go that soft compounded tyre and then use that to the end. So I'll be interested to see if that works out for them. And more importantly, this is going to be sort of a big old undercut for those just in front of them, because they're going to have now a quicker tyre. They're going to be able to do quicker lap times than the cars in front of them. So when they come to pit, they might just be able to pit them coming out of the pit exit.
Well, it'll be interesting to see about tyre life as well, because of course these guys are now on their 6th lap. If they go on for another lap or so, that will be the duration that the medium runners who started on the medium now on the soft compounded tyre, and lap times have kind of stayed consistent. They haven't really dropped off a cliff, so to speak. So there is enough to get 7 laps out of these tyres. Let's have a look, though, at this battle for 5th place in the meantime. Here's Lucas Bonelli, the Brazilian driver on the Brazilian circuit, with Adam Tapai for company. A bit of a splinter group going on, these two drivers there, because there's a bit of a gap back to Andrew Brooks and Randall Hayward, the two North American drivers who are running close to one another. Now, these two on the same strategy. They haven't made their pit stop yet. Do you think they're going to come in at the end of this one?
They must do at this point, I think. If the guys behind you are pitting for softs, you have to react to that, otherwise you're going to end up just losing time. The one I want to watch probably is going to be Coque Lopez, because he's the one now leading on that alternate strategy of running mediums first, then softs after. So I'll be interested to see how he can push in these next few laps and whether that will affect things or not. So here we are then, the first 4, everybody coming in. Let's double check. We've got Gallo, we've got Fraga in. Have Miyazono and Yamanaka come in? They have not. So Gallo and Fraga have come in. The 2 Japanese drivers are opting to stay out.
Let's see what happens then as these drivers change over their tyres. So on to the mediums then for Igor Fraga, on to the mediums then for Valerio Gallo there as well. They come out of the pit lane running closer than they ever have done over the course of this race. They do just break a little bit more of a gap as they come out of the pit lane here. By the way, not sure what's happened to Danny Solis. Something's gone wrong with him. I think he must have had some kind of an off-track excursion, because he's right now at the back of the field, which is not where he was a couple of laps ago, and has lost a bit of time. He's on to the medium compounded tyre there, but he's going to be quite a way back from everybody else. There is Igor Fraga, 3rd and 4th place they are on the road, but of course the top 2, Yamanaka and Miyazono, haven't made their stops yet, so this is the de facto race lead.
Now, if I'm Gallo now, this is the time that I want to strike if I'm Gallo. The tyres are cold, maybe Fraga won't be expecting a move at this point, but if I was Gallo, right, get it done now, and then focus on getting a quick lap time. So Yamanaka and Miyazono out on their own. I very much expect we'll see them coming to the pit lane at the end of this lap and switch to that medium compounded tyre, because at this point in the race, 7 laps on those soft tyres, they're going to be absolutely ruined, and you'll see him sliding about on exit, trying to get that power down, not quite able to though.
Yeah, just having a look at the difference in lap times there with some of the soft runners who pitted. 129s, sort of early mid 129s, and Yamanaka and Miyazono in the sort of mid to late 129s. So they're now starting to go off the cliff. They're into the pit lane there, as you expected, Jimmy, onto the medium compounded tyre. They're going to emerge behind Fraga and Gallo there, presumably, but it's going to be pretty close though, actually.
Here we are then. So Fraga and Gallo making their way down the pit straight. Miyazono and Yamanaka now in the pit lane. Let's see where they come out. Of course, a long pit exit here at Interlagos, so it's always quite tricky to see where everybody is until everyone's at the pit exit. So here come the Japanese drivers. Here comes Gallo and Fraga. Fraga still just about leading the Italian drive, but the gap is the closest I've actually seen it so far. Coming through Senaras now, hugging the curb on the inside. Now, where are Miyazono and where is Yamanaka? Let's find out coming out the pit exit. There they are, just behind. So the order stays as it was before the pit lane there. Gallo looks to the inside, coming down to T4, doesn't quite get the move done, and just like that, the battle resumes.
So 4 and a bit laps now remaining then here at Interlagos, and you can imagine the gloves are going to start to come off before too long. They've all been playing nicely as it stands with the top 4 drivers so far, but now we're getting towards the business end of the race. That is where we're going to see drivers starting to become a little bit more aggressive, and if you're Valerio Gallo, you know you're going to have a go at Igor Fraga if it stays as this, but when and where do you pounce?
I don't really know, to be honest, mate. I think probably in one of the big braking zones, into the first straight, maybe down at T4. Might even fancy a little sneaky move in the middle sector if Fraga's not got his eye in the mirrors, because you've always got to keep one eye in the mirror with Valerio Gallo's behind you, because he'll make the move. Interestingly, looking back as well, 5th place, Coque Lopez, that gap's come down to 1.6 seconds, so when the camera goes a little bit wider, we're probably going to see Coque in the same shot as these lads, and he's gaining quickly, so the Spaniard really on the move.
This could be very promising here for Coque Lopez, could be on for a podium position, if not a little bit better. Fastest lap, meanwhile, has been set by Martin Marza, down in 9th position, the Argentine driver. Meanwhile, Fraga goes for the inside line. Gallo there, breaking that slipstream once again as they come down the start-finish straight, heading in towards the centre S, just keeping his nose clean, biding his time as it stands here for now as they come down in towards that long straight, the Reta Aposta, and the run down into the Descida de Largo then. So, is Gallo going to think about a move? But crucially, we've got to keep an eye on Coque Lopez in P5. That gap is coming down, as you say, Jimmy. He's looking pretty promising here, is Coque, and there's enough time for him to do something with it.
I reckon so. Keep an eye on that. Lucas Spinelli, 7th place, Martin Depaille, of course, you have a Brazilian in this race, doing pretty well on that alternate strategy, soft compounded tyre. He'll be gaining, of course, on the first 4, as everyone will be at the moment. And there is Coque Lopez and Kanata Kawakami. Look how close these guys are now to that top 4 group. So it isn't going to be a 4-way battle for the lead, it's going to be a 6-way battle for the lead as we get into the last few laps here. Now, if you're Gallo now, if you're any of the drivers, that's Yamanaka, Miyazono, anyone behind Fraga, you're thinking, right, we've got to get on with this now. We can't be driving together anymore because it's slowing us all down. This is on board from Coque Lopez. That's how close they all are now to that front 4 drivers. So I think this is really going to be a very interesting finish for Coque Lopez.
He's gained half a second in that first sector alone, Coque Lopez. So let's see what the Spaniard is going to be able to do. We always talk about him. We call him a nearly man. We call him Consistency Lopez because he's consistent in his finishes, but he's never been able to fight for the top spot. Could that be set to change in this semi-final? Well, let's wait and find out. The thing is, if you're logical, you don't really need to get involved in this because you can battle for the lead. Here we go, battling for the lead with Valerio Gallo. Side by side we go down the start-finish straight in towards the centre S, and Gallo takes the front spot away from Igor Fraga on lap 10.
He's just decided now, right, this is the time I want to pounce, I don't want to wait anymore. Interestingly, he did it here and immediately going to the left-hand side to break the toe. Fraga, curiously, not following him actually down the straight. Not too bothered, it seems, about getting the place back. And Gallo goes up into first then, Fraga then down to second, and now he's got Tomioka Yamanaka behind. So here's a replay of what went on. Just pretty much a textbook move there from Gallo. Just got the run on the inside past Fraga. He goes up into first place. See that move every day, and Gallo showing that he can do it masterfully.
Very similar to what we saw from Mikael Hazal, if you remember back in the Manufacturers Series World Finals last year. Nice and clean move down in towards that first turn. Just having a little bit of a look back down the order. Lucas Spinelli, Adam Tapai down in 7th and 8th position, running very close to one another. The next driver who is going to be a threat is going to be Martin Marza, who's in P9. As I said earlier on, he's set the fastest lap overall in this race, but he's a bit of a way back to try and mount a challenge. And of course, it's only the top 8 drivers who will progress through to that grand final. Now, on board here with Coque Lopez. That gap, as you can see, has come down quite visibly. It's now down at half a second. There are 3 laps remaining here at the Autodromo de Interlagos. If you're Coque Lopez, what on earth do you do? Do you just send it or do you play it safe? Because if you finish here, you're going to make it through anyway.
Yeah, but that's no fun, is it? I mean, where's the fun? Now, no story ever starts, no fun story ever starts with, well, I played it safe. You know, you've got to have, enjoy yourself while you're out there. Coque Lopez, running in 5th place, does have a tyre advantage, but probably not for much longer. Those tyres are going to start getting a little bit second-hand, now they already are, as the train snakes to the left, snakes to the right, as they all vie for the slipstream, coming now down to T4. On board Coque Lopez, and again you're seeing that difference in the braking zone there, just how much he closes up on that middle pedal, and that's just because the tyres are working a bit better, and that's essentially just it. Better tyres, better cornering, better braking, better traction, you're faster everywhere. The problem is though, if there's a Renault RS01 size hole in front of you, you can't really get around it. It's a big old roadblock, the Renault.
It certainly is. So, let's see how things are going. Things are going from bad to worse, by the way, for Danny Solis down in P15, 20 seconds off the back of the rest of the field, and he's managed to pick up a penalty for bad measure there as well. Disappointing for the American driver. So, through into the right-hander we go, and now things are going to start getting interesting. You can see the sun bathing this Interlagos circuit as they come up the climb in towards the final corner, and then it's going to be Slipstream City down towards turn number 1. So let's see whether Lopez is able to mount anything. Bit of a slide coming out of there. I think it was just a little bit wide on the curve on the exit. Now, is he going to be able to have a move on Takuma Miyazono. He's going to be too far back then on this occasion. Of course, Miyazono is having that hole in the air punched in front of him by Tomoki Yamanaka, and as such, he's not able to mount a challenge. Yamanaka, meanwhile, is just closing up onto the back of Fraga in turn.
He had a look there, didn't he? A little half look, I like to call it, when you sort of just pop out the slipstream for a minute to get into the guy's mirrors. Say, hello, look at me, don't look at the apex. Sometimes that works. Sometimes then the guy in front makes a mistake, gives you an easy pass. But Coca Lopez there coming out of the last corner just didn't quite have the run. Oh my word, Gallo almost touching the inside wall there. He was so aggressive there, taking to the off line to try and break the toe to Fraga behind. Of course, the slipstream plays a big part around here. If you can break it at any point, you're going to be laughing. But right now, these guys have been just glued together in this slipstream train. And of course, now Lopez and Kawakami are there too. Coming into the middle sector once more. Penultimate time this time. So Gallo still out leading from Fraga. In the background, Yamanaka, Miyazono, Lopez, Kawakami, Benelli not quite close enough to get onto the back of this group. But 6 cars now, all vying for the win here at Interlagos.
Certainly are. Looks like the top 8 been pretty safe there, because the gap between the 8th place man of Adam Tapai and Martin Marza has increased out to 2.5 seconds. Tapai actually now the fastest man on track last time around as well, and right when it matters as we come in towards the business end then of this race. So we're only going to have 1 lap left here at the Autodromo de Interlagos at the end of this one, and it's kind of anybody's guess really as to what is going to happen here. Bit of a slip and a slide there from Tomoki Yamanaka coming out of the final corner as they go onto the start-finish line once again. So here we are on board with Igor Fraga. Is Yamanaka going to be close enough? No, he's too far away then on this occasion, and the thing is, he's not really going to have much to gain from this point. There's going to be another qualifying session and another race in the grand final coming up very shortly. But look at how close they are. It's so difficult to call.
Yeah, these guys are racers though. If you're not in first, you're not winning, then what's the point of driving? That's the whole idea here. What they say, second is the first loser, as they say, and I'm sure Fraga's thinking that right now. Yamanaka and also Miyazono, these guys are now glued to each other as we come down to T4 for the last time. Now we take the climb up the hill towards the middle sector, another opportunity to draft the slipstream. Yamanaka is right on the back of the spoiler of Igor Fraga, who takes a very late line to the exit there just to make sure that Yamanaka has no route through to the inside, and we come through to the middle sector. It's very much one a time through here, and unless there's a mistake, it's all looking very good for Valerio Gallo right now. If he can get a good exit coming out of that last corner, this could be Gallo taking the win from Fraga. That'll be huge for the Italian driver.
Brilliant race it has been from everybody up and down the field, because they have just driven so superlatively, and that is exactly why they are here on this international stage as part of the World Series Showdown. Through the left-hander we can go then. So only a few more corners remain here at the Autodromo de Interlagos. A few half looks there from some of the competitors up and down the field, but surely it's going to stay as it is as they come towards the timing line. Valerio Gallo has got this one just about sewn up, then a half-second advantage he has over Igor Fraga as they come for the dash to the timing line. It is the Italian Valerio Gallo who wins semi-final B at the Autodromo de Interlagos, ahead of Igor Fraga, Tomoki Yamanaka, Miyazono, Lopez, Kawakami, Tapai and Lucas Benelli are the 8 drivers who make it through. Really close behind there between Marza, Haywood and Brooks to the timing line as well for 9th and 10th position. Pinel comes home in P14 and Danny Solis quite a way back from the rest of the field in P15. Let's have a look then at the results from semi-final B. So Valerio Gallo takes 8 points ahead of Fraga, ahead of Yamanaka. Then comes Miyazono, Lopez, Kawakami, Tapai and Benelli being the 8 drivers who progressed through to the grand final and of course to World Series 3 and World Series 4. And this is what it means for the overall points rankings then as well. So Gallo and Moisov sit on 8 points apiece. You can see the 16 drivers who have made it through to the grand final.
So a great win for Valerio Gallo representing Italy in our second semi-final, and he's now here with me. Valerio, how was that?
Si hola, hola. Thank you for having me, guys. And wow, after yesterday, again, I made another revenge. So what can I say?
I mean, that was some incredible strategy. Just talk us through everything that went on, because obviously it was, you know, it's this battle between you and Fraga, let's be honest, but you came out on top. How did you plan it? Were you kind of working on the fly? How did you pull it together?
So I knew that I had to be on the top 8 to qualify, so I didn't need to push too much. On the start, I lost the position because actually I didn't have practiced the start, but it went okay in the end, and I was playing strategically because I said, okay, let's save tires behind Igor because Igor is fast, and yeah, so also against the other guys that were doing other strategies. So I wanted to do the first stint like let's say doing sort of teamwork, even if we couldn't do it, but yeah, just not disturbing each other. And then just in the last stint I tried to do the attack after saving a little bit of tires as well. And yeah, so also I saw the other guys who stopped later, and I thought maybe it's the case that I pass Igor because maybe I could end up in other fights, and I did well. I did a very good decision, and like I'm so surprised of this performance, and I'm also very happy, and I want to also congratulate to the other guys because it was very intense.
It was very intense. I suppose my question has to be, Valerio, when you're biding your time like that, when you're, you know, you're saving your tyres, you know, saving a bit of fuel, you're using that slipstream, and you're waiting. How do you know when it's kind of the right moment? Is it a combination of different things?
Yeah, actually, you had to play the strategy, but also you have to apply well the strategy. So in my case, as I was, let's say, hiding behind Igor because I didn't want to pass him, but I just passed him on the lap that maybe he could not expect me to pass him, and just right before the three final laps I overtook him, and then I tried to let's say manage the lead, and yeah, so that was the key moment for me to, let's say, win this race.
Well, it was an incredible strategy, and it certainly paid off. And it just goes to show why you're one of our top drivers, Valerio. So huge, well done.
Thank you, guys. Grazie.
Right, we're going to go over and talk to Igor Fraga, who is, of course, from Brazil and came in second place. Igor, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Yeah, what happened? Because, I mean, that was... It could really have gone kind of either way during that race. How did Valerio outfox you?
To be honest, I didn't bother too much. I didn't try to even like fight too much Valerio as well, because I knew, the difference in point are very small between P1 and P2. So I rather prefer to, stay with the nose clean.
Yeah.
Exactly, play it safe, and make sure that I'm going to the finals. And still P2 is a good point, so we are in a good position for the final round. So yeah, I'm quite satisfied with the performance, and let's go for it.
Well, because we were watching it, and we were sort of thinking like, he's not really pushing as much as normally we would expect him. Like, what's going on here? So it's interesting to hear the strategy that you wanted to just make it through, make it clean, and get through to the grand final.
Yeah, like on the last years, there was some races in Interlagos, and I was like really wanted to win, and it didn't play like as I wanted, and I lost more position than it. So yeah, I'm trying to kind of stay clean this time, make sure that I finish in a good position, and that's it. Yeah.
So does that mean going into the grand final, are you going to properly send it now? Are we going to see like full guns Fraga in action in the next race, please?
It would depend a lot, but the idea is that it would depend a lot on the racing situation, of course. But the idea is to go full send now.
So no braking, all foot down all the way, okay? I'm just kidding. Thanks for joining us, and the very best of luck in the grand final. Okay, so now we know who our 16 are going to be going into that grand final, but we also know which 14 drivers have missed out on the next 2 rounds of the World Series. Tom and Jimmy, what are your thoughts?
Well, I'm not really sure what to make of that one, to be honest with you. What do you think?
I think it was an interesting sort of like 2 different races in one race. You had those who started on the soft tyres, got away early, and the medium runners that obviously came good at the end when they switched to their soft tyre, but ended up being a bit of a tricky place to park. You know what Interlagos is like, it's basically straight or nothing, so.
Hello again.
Oh, hi.
Oh,
I keep sneaking in a little bit. For me, it was all about Fraga and Gallo, though. I thought that was really interesting.
I mean, it kind of was, to be honest. I mean, let's have a look at some of the incidents in that race then. So this is Igor Fraga getting away from the lights, and everybody was spinning those wheels up like there was no tomorrow. Just Fraga span a bit less.
Yeah, exactly. So a little bit better on the old throttle control there from Igor Fraga. We expect that, of course, for a lot of experience in the standing starts. And we kind of thought it would be a typical Igor Fraga lights to flag victory, but Gallo was like, nah, I'm going to take this, mate. Up the inside, thank you very much. And Fraga didn't really have a response after this and ended up finishing in second place.
No, absolutely. Phenomenal race there from Valerio Gallo, getting himself into the lead of the race, not succumbing to the pressure of Igor Fraga. He is a certified alien now, I think, isn't he?
I think definitely, yeah. Well, he is having a good time. Look at him.
Someone from downstairs is like, quiet! Stop shouting!
The mum's got the broom on the roof.
You kids making all that noise.
I was going to mention though that whilst of course Gallo was having a great time, something wasn't was Andrew Brooks, your namesake mate, didn't do too well.
I know. It must be a Brooks thing. We just have bad luck, I think.
Yeah, that's what it is.
I know. Let's have a look at the standings then, shall we, after that race and see what it does mean then. So winning their respective semi-finals, Valerio Gallo, Nikita Moisov. Fraga Serrano making it through. You can see 16 drivers ready for our grand final here later on today.
Thanks, guys. Well, it's now all about who can finish on top after our grand final. And everyone will be racing in this. The Ford Mark IV race car. Oof, yeah, an absolute classic for the grand final, which is going to be unmissable. So let's waste no time in getting trackside for qualification.
And so for our grand final, we've got a very special treat lined up for you indeed. Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, one of the most legendary race circuits in the world, of course, situated in Belgium. Just over 7 kilometres in length, one of the longest circuits you can drive in GT Sport, split into 3 different sectors with a whole host of famous corner names. The Source, Eau Rouge, Radion, Les Combes, Pouon, and of course Blanchimont as well, just to name a few. Big elevation change to the bottom of the circuit, up to the top. A lot of that is a climb up the Kemmel Straight. You can see from the top to the bottom circuit, 104 metres in elevation. A big challenge for our drivers. And to make the challenge even harder for them, the car's going to be a Ford Mark IV race car, proper old school around here. 17 laps again on the racing medium and the soft tyres. This time though, a standing start with full start checks. If you're a little bit too enthusiastic on that throttle to start, you might end up getting a penalty before the race has even begun.
The Ford GT40 Mark IV was always going to be a tricky beast to tame during qualifying, but Adam Tapai managed to do it very well indeed, setting the provisional fastest time. However, that was soon bettered in the first group by Koke Lopez. Then all eyes were on Ryota Kokubun to see whether he could go to the top, and indeed he could.
Yeah, very quick time for Japanese driver, but Igor Fraga even faster, taking provisional pole on a 2:14.5. Interestingly enough, both Valerio Gallo and Jose Serrano did have a later pace, but not quite enough to displace the Brazilian driver, meaning that Igor Fraga would take a pole position in the grand final.
Very impressive stuff indeed from the Brazilian, giving him a great chance to take the overall win in the World Series Showdown for the Nations Cup. Fraga on pole with Kokubun alongside. Gallo and Serrano start on row 2.
He's back on top form. Yes, Igor Fraga from Brazil, cool as ever, takes pole position for the grand final. And with 24 points on offer for a win, that qualifying position could prove crucial. So a reminder that our overall point standings going into that final race look a little bit like this. Come on, Tom and Jimmy, what are you going to be putting your money on at this stage? You have to actually give me an answer for once, please.
She sussed us out, mate. I mean, Valerio Gallo, Nikita Moisov, you can't ignore their form, a win apiece for both of those guys. But then, if you look at the qualifying results, Igor Fraga at the top of the pile, so maybe these cars will suit him, and maybe this will be the pendulum swinging in his favour.
And we sort of chat with Igor in between races, and he sort of said, well, I wasn't really trying that hard in my semi-final. I just wanted to get to the end in one piece and, you know, put myself in a good position in this race, which he has done, typical Igor fashion there. So, yeah, hard to say, but so many points on offer that you can't really discount anyone.
Yeah, that's the problem, isn't it? Double points. We can't look at the standings and say, oh, well, this person's here and they've got such a point lead that it's really hard for us to put it there. I mean, if you look at the Japanese drivers, you've got 3 Japanese drivers on the fringes of the top 5, and it could go their way.
Basically, Julia, everyone.
Could you please, just for once, give me a name?
But it's really hard, Julia. I mean, look at the Japanese drivers. They're on the fringes of the top 5, and there's 3 of them there. I mean, I don't know, like Fraga, or Igor Fraga. Does that work?
Yes, finally. The grand final is clearly going to be epic. And something else which is hugely epic is the fact that I'm joined by the producer of the Gran Turismo series, Kazunori Yamauchi. Great to see you, Yamauchi-san. Do you have a message for our 16 competitors as they go into the grand final? What advice could you give them?
はい、次のグランドファイナルは、スパ、ストレートの長いスパ、かつ、フォードマーク4というすごくパワーのある車でレースが行われるので、かつ、燃費も重要になってくるということで、オーバーテイクも見られるでしょうし、あるいは、どうやって燃費を稼ぎながら速く走るか、かなり難しいレースになると思うんですね。ただ今回残ってくださった16名のドライバー、どれも本当にすごいドライバーばかりなので、ハイレベルなクリーンでフェアなレースを見せてくれると思っています。
It was lovely to speak to you, Yamauchi-san. So thank you, and I do hope that your live audience enjoys the grand final as much as we're going to. Talking of which, I think it's time we head over to the big race. Over to you, Tom and Jimmy.
Drivers are lined up on the grid, ready for the grand final of the Nations Cup for the World Series Showdown here at the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. This is going to be a very exciting challenge with the standing start. Igor Fraga, the Brazilian driver, starts on pole position. Alongside him on the front row is Ryon Kokkonen, the Japanese driver. Then next up we have Valerio Gallo, the Italian, who's been emphatic as of late. Let's see how he fares with Jose Serrano company alongside him in fourth position. Further of the grid is headed by Koke Lopez in P5. Next up, a great qualifying for Adam Tapai after a very difficult semi-final for the Hungarian driver. Then it's Takuma Miyazono, the 2020 Nations Cup champion. Alongside him, we have got Angel Inestrosa, the Chilean driver. Final row inside the top 10 is comprised of Japanese driver Tomoki Yamanaka and Nicolas Romero. Out on the top 10 was Nikita Moisov, who was brilliant in race 1, taking a very well-deserved win. Adriano Carranza company alongside him. Then it's Quentin Yahul, the Belgian driver, on home turf here at Spa-Francorchamps, just 18 years old. He is with Kanata Kawakami, a stalwart in the FIA Certified GT Championship company alongside. Then it's Andrew Lee on the final row of the grid for Australia. And Lucas Benelli, the Brazilian, completes our 16-driver-strong grid. So, soft and medium compound tyres available for our drivers. It's going to be interesting to see how it all fares with these boys, Jimmy.
Yeah, it is, but of course all about the standing start here as well. Kind of new to these series. I'm very sure that some of the guys there are better than others at these standing starts. Let's see how they do down towards T1.
Red lights are on then. We're ready to go racing for the grand final of the Nations Cup here at Spa-Francorchamps. Revs are rising, we go green, and lights out. Good start then for Igor Fraga. Not bad at all for Ryon Kokkonen. Keep an eye out for Gallo versus Serrano side by side down towards the Lassour's hairpin. So Fraga leads the way. Kokkonen in the middle there. Bit of argy-bargy there with Valerio Gallo on the inside through the Lassour's hairpin. Somebody's running wide through the background in the lower half of the grid. But Fraga leads the way, but it's nearly side by side for second as they come up the hill through Eau Rouge and Radion. Gallo holds on to second. Then comes Kokkonen. Then comes Serrano. Then Lopez. But it's all going to be about the run down the Camel Straight and in towards Lake Coombe for the first time. This is where the slipstream will come into effect. And will we see any drivers being overtaken? On board here we are with Valerio Gallo. A few penalties being given there down the order in the lower half of the top 10, presumably for contact at the first couple of corners. But it is Fraga that leads the way at the middle point of the first lap.
Yeah, contact, and track limits, I think that's going to be there, Tom. So very easy to do that over the top of Eau Rouge and Radion, if you're being a little bit too aggressive there. As speaking of aggressive, Gallo wipes out Igor Fraga and the brakes coming down reverse. A little bit of a tag there from Kokkonen behind. Everyone's still getting used to driving this GT40, of course, a completely different car to what we've had so far in the Nations Cup 2021 Showdown. Right now, Gallo seems to be adapting to it very well. Of course, jumped Kokkonen right off the line there, up into second place, and now just trying to get into a bit of a rhythm. These cars like to be sort of slides around a little bit around here, but there is a limit to it. When you go a little bit too far, the car starts to rotate in a way that isn't quick as we come now through the Fania chicane as Gallo starts to pull up to the back of Fraga a little bit through there. Drafting is going to be a big deal in this race because, well, first of all, these things are like bullets in a straight line. It's a massive slipstream, and also, of course, there are fuel consumption is going to matter in this race. So getting in someone's slipstream and lifting a little bit is going to be crucial to your position at the end of the race.
They're not going to have much downforce in the corners, these things, given they're quite old as well. So I can imagine they are going to be, as you said, sliding a bit like a dog on a polished floor over the course of this one. We'll keep an eye out and see what happens. You can see the red dots seat next to Andrew Lee, Nicholas Romero, Tomoki Yamanaka and Nikita Moisov, who's actually dropped down to 16th position, so a disaster of a start there for the Czech driver. And Fraga's deep into the bus-stop chicane. Is that going to allow an opportunity for Valerio Gallo? It certainly is. The Italian hits the front at the end of lap 1, so an uncharacteristic error there for Fraga means that he drops down to second place and could potentially be under threat from the likes of Kokkoman and Serrano before long.
Yeah, first time through there at race speed. Sometimes maybe you just get the brake put a little bit wrong. That's what Fraga did there. Went far too deep in the corner. Managed to sort of keep it on the circuit just, but lost a ton of momentum, and that allowed Gallo to get through and had to almost collect the Kokkoman on the way through as well. So I wonder now if the Japanese driver's going to have an attempt at Fraga up the hill here. Fraga would have been shaken by that a little bit. You can see all the cars just moving over the top of the crest there. It was great to see that as we go uphill. Camel straight here, quite deceptively uphill this one, so the cars struggle a little bit for top speed. Serrano there also in the mix in P4 as well. So a good start there. I was going to say it was a good start from Andrew Lee down the bottom of the field in P8. He's gone up 7 positions. He started P15.
Not bad at all there for Andrew Lee, despite that penalty that he picked up on the opening lap. All drivers have now served their penalty, but Ganassi Kawakami down at P15 has picked up another one as well, presumably again for track limits. I was just talking about Nikita Moisov as Fraga again going really deep into Ravage there, just making a couple of errors in these opening couple of laps there, just a bit scrappy.
Yeah, these cars aren't what you're used to so far. Very easy to lock a tyre and lock a wheel. No ABS, of course, in this next from the 60s, so no ABS, no traction control. It's all about you as a driver controlling this car. And Fraga so far just struggling to adapt a little bit.
What we're used to seeing there for the Brazilian driver coming in towards the FIA chicane there. Here you can see the predicted points on the left-hand side of your screen. If the checkered flag fell now, it would be Valerio Gallo who would take the overall win in the World Series Showdown of the Nations Cup, with Fraga finishing in second, Kokkoman in third, Serrano fourth, and Adam Tapai in P5. But of course, there's still 15 or so laps remaining here at Spa-Francorchamps. Still plenty of time for things to be changing. And well, we saw about the strategy. We talked about that earlier on in the race, Jimmy. The driver's probably going to do sort of half and half over the course of this one on the softs and the mediums. But do you think anybody's going to try something different to try and leapfrog anybody else?
I reckon that we'll see the soft tyre being used more than the medium. I don't think it'll be quite as easy as a split down the middle. The soft tyre is always going to have more pace around it. The problem is, of course, you're really leaning on it a lot in this car. It's a long lap round here as well, over a good chunk over 2 minutes around this circuit, so very easy to burn the tyre if you're being a little bit too aggressive. Kokkoman there showing us how to do it through the bus stop now, coming to start the third lap for the leaders at the moment, and right now he seems really happy to sit there, doesn't he? He's lifting a little bit as well, I'm noticing that, short shifting, so maybe saving a little bit of fuel.
Possibly so. As you said, they're going to be very heavy on fuel, and if it stays as close as it is, if you can save fuel and have a couple of seconds less in the pit stop, that could be the difference between coming out third, for example, or coming out in the race lead. And you have to feel for the likes of Valerio Gallo here, because at the moment he's punching that hole in the air. Fraga, Kokkoman, Serrano et al. are all having the hole in the air punched in front of them, so they can sort of afford to lift off the straight, maybe short shift, save that fuel, and a few extra litres could make the difference here.
Yeah, I think that's why Fraga isn't really too bothered about running the second right now, of course. You do know that as a leader. Of course, Valerio won't be completely ignorant to the fact that he's the one out front at the moment, punching the hole, as you say, but he'll also be backing off a little bit, trying to match Fraga's still saving by doing his own up front. It's a little bit of cat and mouse, really, of how much you can give away before you start getting into trouble. Penalty there, by the way, for Andrew Lee, 2-second penalties, so whilst he had a good start, he's having a bit of trouble, I think, with track limits and contact.
Yeah, not ideal there for the Australian driver. Meanwhile, fastest man last time around was Valerio Gallo, a 2 minutes 17.5. Very impressive stuff indeed from the Italian driver. The gap to Igor Fraga sits at just under half a second then as they come through Pouon. Then you can see Takuma Miyazono making some ground after a really difficult qualifying there for the 2020 Nations Cup champion. And the Brazilian driver, let's have a look at a replay meanwhile. And you can see coming up through Rouge and Radial. Oh, that's what happened to Andrew Lee there. So track limits coming up the top, really easy to do that, especially when you're following another car. Let's see if anything kicks off here. This is Nikita Moisov in 11th place. Oh, this is the plethora of penalties we had on the opening lap then. Look at how absolutely action-packed it was. Where on earth do you go? Lee there. Yeah, he was into the back of Moisov, wasn't he? Contact.
2 for 1 there. He got somebody else as well on the exit. So you're carrying probably about 20 more Ks, 15 more Ks there. Break in the same spot and go, oh dear, wait a minute, I'm going faster. And you go, you just don't make the corner. I think it's got what happened there to Andrew Lee. Not intentional, but it is his fault, so we'll be getting a penalty, of course. And we're on board now with Igor Fraga, just sort of chilling out right now in 4th place. So you don't really chill in this car at all. Great to have this kind of car represented here in the GT GT Sport Showdown Grand Final. Love these old cars. I think they really bring out the driver in someone. You really have to hustle these cars on the circuit to get the most out of them. And only a 4-speed this thing as well, so you're doing 140 mile an hour or so in third gear, which is nuts.
It is, yeah. First time we've seen something like this actually in one of our grand finals. Normally in the Nations Cup we've been used to seeing the H2019s, but I love the ability to have this creative freedom, as we've alluded to before, within GT Sport and the FIA Certified Gran Turismo Championship. Great to see the team of Podium Digital making a bit of a change to the sort of norm, if you like, and having something that makes it a bit more fun and a bit more unpredictable, especially for the blokes out on track.
Well, for me, that's what Gran Turismo is all about, is that variety. It's not just having one sort of racing series. It's about, for me, it's taking old K cars, but big turbos and racing them. Of course, this isn't quite a K car, this GT40, but it's in the same sort of spirit of having to adapt to each different challenge. And now I've noticed that our top 5 drivers have all come together quite somewhat. So that group is comprised of Gallo, Fraga, Kokobun, Serrano, and Adam Tapai, the Hungarian driver. Where's he come from? Adam has been a little bit anonymous so far, isn't it? Good to see him running up there, but never really had a good go yet.
Yeah, I was having a look at the results earlier on today. Finished 7th in semi-final B, so not ideal at all there for Adam Tapai, but maybe it's just a case of the machinery suiting him a little bit better than what we had in the second semi-final, perhaps.
I'll tell you what, someone I think who does similar sort of cars is Rita Kokobun in third place. I remember all the way back to 2018 Nations Cup when it was Asia Oceania region, and that was very much around different kind of cars. He did really well in that. And of course 2019 in Tokyo, when he won in the 80s F1 style car at Le Mans. So he likes these old kind of weird and wonderful cars. So keep an eye on them.
Phenomenal one. Do you remember the crowd going absolutely wild with Kokobun versus Karatsa in Tokyo? It was just magic, wasn't it?
We miss you guys. Hopefully we can all be in person again soon. But for now, we'll focus on this fight. Gallo, of course, at the moment leading the battle. And you sort of get the impression that everyone's just sort of biding their time a little bit. Saving that fuel, as I mentioned. You might think, why are they saving fuel on lap 4? Why does it matter? It basically means that pit stop's going to be shorter when they do have to take fuel. And it's much easier to make up 2 or 3 seconds in the pit lane than it is out on the circuit. So that's why everyone's saving that fuel right now.
5 points there on your screen on the left-hand side. As you can see, once again, the gap between the top 5 and Coque Lopez now sits at 3.3 seconds there and thereabouts. Up through the top of Eau Rouge and Radion we go. You can see them having to take a very big lift. Lots of downforce missing compared to some of the more higher downforce Formula cars that we used to see. Was something a bit wide there in the background. Was that Adam Tapai perhaps just having a bit of an off-track excursion up through the top of Radion?
Good spot there, mate. Yeah, down to off the back of Serrano, a couple of seconds, and Paulie lost the draft. That might actually be his sort of race over or done. We'll see if he can catch this pack. The problem is, it is almost like super speedway racing, but around Spa, which is kind of weird to think. But having that draft is very important for the overall pace. Now, does Gallo lift at all? Maybe a slight lift coming down to Rivage and before getting back onto the brake pedal there, just trying to save that fuel the others are doing at the same time behind.
One thing I actually would love to see, we'll come back to that. This is Tapai's moment then coming through the top of Rouge. Oh, big old slide there. He was really, really fortunate to catch that actually, because if he'd have gone wrong, he'd have ended up in the tyre barrier and we would have lost time, positions and possibly damaged his car.
The certified brown trousers moment. But he managed to keep it. That takes a lot of skill to save a car like that through there. So whilst of course his skills on display, unfortunately it does mean he's now 1.8 seconds behind the pack and a bit closer to these guys, Coque Lopez and Miyazono, who are on medium tyres.
Yes, absolutely. One thing I was just about to say is I love how smooth these drivers are having to be. They're almost controlling the steering wheel and the pedals with their fingertips, like they've got an egg underneath it. They're just trying not to break or something, because you've got to be smooth. It doesn't reward aggressive driving this time, so.
No, it's not. I mean, it's all about just inducing a slide in the nicest way possible and just sort of letting the car, letting it glide out of the corner rather than pushing it through a corner. It's a very unique sort of driving style that unfortunately really has died off, of course, due to how cars are nowadays with big slicks and wings, but it's still awesome to see them sort of wheeled out every now and then to show they do.
And this is one of the things, when this car would have raced back at Le Mans and the endurance races back in the day, you had to drive it carefully, because if you didn't, it would probably break down. Miyazono into the pits meanwhile.
Yeah, luckily these guys haven't really got to worry about that too much. Miyazono in the pits. Anybody else in the background? I did see someone looking over, having a look at the pit lane. No, Miyazono coming in quite early, so does Yamanaka as well, going onto that soft compound tyre. Now we're seeing the first sort of fuel usage. Yamanaka's had the best out of the 3 who pit so far, so we'll have a slightly quicker pit stop than the guys around him, but only slightly. Let's see if that's going to pay off as well. I'm wondering if we're going to go for that sort of early. We seem to go for the early strat a couple of times over the course of the last few days across the series. It's never really paid speed of. They seem just to fall away towards the end.
I was just wondering whether anybody's going to think about doing something a bit Dan Dare and going for a 3-stopper. We've seen it here at Spa-Francorchamps before, but I think it might just be a bit of a bridge too far doing something like that, given the closeness of the pack of racing.
Yeah, let's just assume it'll be Miyazono, shall we? And, he's done it in the past, I'm sure he'll do it again. So out the pit lane, then he comes, he's in P14, Yamanaka behind, Benelli. But Benelli's been kind of nowhere in this one. It's a real shame because Lucas is a really fast driver, and he qualified last, but it was only like 8 tenths off pole or something like that, and that was last place, which is mad.
He picked up a penalty early on in the race, Lucas, actually, which wouldn't have helped his case at all. But as he said, he's been somewhat anonymous over the course of this race, and that's really disappointing there for Lucas. We know how quick Benelli can be. Of course, all of these drivers are quick. That's why they are racing on the international stage here as part of the World Series event. You can see here we're riding on board with Nico Romero, Quentin Hall and Adriano Carrazza in front. They're going side by side down Les Combes then. And is Romero going to join the party? He certainly is. This is going to be a bit Hakkinen, Zonta, Schumacher in towards the left-hander of Les Combes. Romero on the inside, Hall on the outside there. Carrazza with nowhere to go, so 2 places lost in the space of 1 straight.
How they all got through that in one piece, I'm not really sure, to be honest. It looks like Hall wasn't quite finished there as we come down the bottom. Does he have a go at Romero? He does, there he goes. Quentin Hall on home soil, thinking very, very confident for Rivage. He gets a place again. Very nice by Quentin. There you go. Just leave them both for dead and up into 7th place. Now, saying that, shoes on the other foot. Romero's got the draft coming up towards Bonchemont. We're going to come back to that later on, I suppose. Here's Gallo, Fraga, still at the front, still just saving fuel at this point. I'll be interested to see when they all come in what their fuel differences are. Hopefully they come in sort of at a similar time as Adam High there in the background doing his best to try and get onto the back of the field. Coca Lopez comes into the pits a lap later than the 2 Japanese drivers and Benelli coming onto that soft tyre. You can see again, fuel-wise, he's done slightly better than those around him. But you're seeing what it's like to run on your own. Andrew Lee's been pushing quite a lot to get back into the Simpson to actually use a little bit more fuel, so he's got to be stationary for about another second.
Yeah, into the pit lane then comes Coque Lopez. So he was the fastest of the medium runners. You expect him to emerge out in front there as well. And he's actually got a decent amount of fuel on board that car as well. These guys are going to fill the tanks up and then try and go as quick as they can with just over 11 laps remaining here then as part of the grand final for the World Series Showdown. Don't forget, of course, you can get involved in this as well. You can vote for your Michelin driver of the day. More on that after this. Out of the pit lane though comes Coque Lopez. Where's he going to emerge? Oh, it's really close, but Miyazono just gets himself ahead, and that's not good for Coque Lopez. That means he's going to have a bit of work to do.
Yeah, and ideally he wants to be just a wee bit closer, because then he can use that draft up the straight and just start gaining on the guys in front. This is where Miyazono and Lopez really want to start working together just a little bit, just to try and bring that gap down to the cars in front. But of course they pitted together, and now Miyazono's got the jump. But bear in mind, Miyazono's tyres are going to be 1 lap older on the 4 times tyre wear around it, and that's the equivalent of about 3 or 4 laps of tyre wear on a soft compounder tyre around a long circuit in a car that slides a lot. So towards the end of the race, Miyazono is going to be struggling. Gallo here also seems to have fallen back a little bit towards Fraga and Kukiba, but I think they're all just saving fuel. Oh, well, there you go. Told you these cars slide, don't they? On the outside there, very masterfully gathered up there by Valerio Gallo. Almost like nothing happened.
Yeah, the more by luck than judgment, I hasten to add. I think these soft tyres are coming towards the end of their shelf life, so to speak, so they'll probably be in, you can imagine, by the end of this lap, if not the next lap, because they're really going to be pushing the limits of those tyres. And you can see that with Igor Fraga and Valerio Gallo getting pretty sideways towards the end of this lap. So in towards the bus stop chicane we go, riding on board here with Igor Fraga. Nice old lift and coast before he comes onto the brakes into the bus stop chicane. Now, does anybody go into the pit lane? Not this time around. They're just going to keep it on the straight and narrow and continue on their planned strategy for now.
Look at Igor's driver cam. It wasn't like a bit of bad news. But to be honest, it's not fair to judge people's concentration faces, because there are some good ones in there, I'm sure. A mix of them at some point. Again, on board with Fraga, it's a great view this. When you go down the hill, you see that little bit of road snake up the hill there. That's Eau Rouge and Radio. What a complex. And then on board with Fraga, let's have a look how he takes it. Big lift, down with the brake on the way, and back on the power quite early there. So carrying quite a lot of speed through the corner for a car with no downforce, to be honest. With 260 k's, maybe about 280 in the slipstream as we come up towards Les Combes. We'll try and brake, look for the left-hand side. There's our marker, well, to lift anyway. Lifts at 150, brakes at 100, and just eases the car into the corner. You see he's not really pushing the car at all, just letting it sort of float into the corner on the way out, not pushing the car too much. To say that, a big dab of opposite lock to make sure he got through the corner. Then we come down to Rivage. Gallo in front, sort of leading the way. Fraga does manage to sort of bring the gap in a tiny bit through there, but not too much. Coming through now, X. Corner falls away from an exit here. Now we go downhill, go up into third gear. Will we take fourth down the hill here? I don't think we will. Probably hold third through Buon. It's a very fast left-hander in any car. 100 mile an hour on the apex there. Tries to tuck in behind Gallo. But you're seeing just how precise you have to be here and how precise everybody is around you, because whilst we were really nailing that section there as Igor Fraga, Gallo just stayed the same gap.
Yeah, things go from bad to worse for Tomo Yamanaka, picking up another penalty then on this lap. He's just really been off the colour in this grand final, but lovely to see the smooth driving style of Igor Fraga and Valerio Gallo in front, just making this look easy, and that's a really hard thing to do behind the wheel of these cars. As we've seen out on track, we've had a few drivers having a few slippery moments, and well, we're keen to see how this is all going to play out as the strategies begin to pay off. Everybody now is on the soft compound of tyre, and everybody from 6th position down to 16th hasn't made their pit stop. It's only the drivers who started on the soft compound of tyre that are still out on that tyre haven't made their mandatory pit stops, and one wonders whether anyone's going to do anything to try and upset the apple cart. Nobody coming in this time around, keeping things continuing on.
And Tapai's nearly got the route now after that one mistake earlier on has cost him this much time to come back at the field. I kind of wonder how much fuel he's used. He must have used an absolute ton of fuel to get to the back of the sprint, given these guys are sort of cruising around using their draft to do their own thing. So I'd be curious to see how much fuel he's got left in the tank when they come into the pit stop. I imagine it's got to be this lap. It's got to be this lap on next, surely. Those soft tyres must be just burned by now. Looking at Miyazono, looking at Lopez, seeing that gap, it's 33 seconds from Miyazono to Tapai at the back of the screen. Here's Karatsa and Yamanaka, by the way. Yamanaka under threat from the Brazilian driver in the background with Romero as well. Bats going around the outside, almost makes it free wide. Thinks better of it. I think that's a good idea, to be honest, Mr. Romero. Oh, bit of contact there between Yamanaka and Karatsa as they Constantina up in the middle of the bus stop. They all get through in one piece just about, but you can see even down in the lower places, it's getting fairly aggressive.
Yeah, absolutely right. Down towards La Source we go then, and this is going to be the interesting one. It's all about the exit out of here, up through Eau Rouge and Granion, onto the Kemmel Straight, and then you can make a move into Les Coubes, or indeed before that down the straight as well. So let's see what happens then here for Adriano Karatsa. He's now the driver who's having to defend and watch his mirrors as Tomoki Yamanaka tries to salvage something from an otherwise disappointing grand final for the Japanese driver. Over the crest of the hill they go, and now you can see Karatsa coming under pressure from Tomoki Yamanaka. On board we look with Nico Romero, who's got a grandstand view of this at the moment. Is Yamanaka going to think about anything? I don't think he is, but Romero certainly is for 12th position. Down the inside he goes, but he's late on the brakes. Was there contact there with Karatsa? Whoa, it's all getting very frantic indeed. Yamanaka's back up the inside as Romero was deep into that corner. Into the right-hander they go. No room there for Romero. He's on the outside there. Yamanaka's on the inside. Here comes Moisov to join the party as well. Into the right-hander of Rivage. Moisov's on the inside. Romero has got no room and no traction as well. Loses 2 positions in the space of as many corners.
The man forgot to brake. Well, they copped, didn't they? He just piled in there and did well, I think, not to hit anyone, but you can see the result there is, of course, down there. And Nikita Moisov, of course, our semi-final A winner, not doing too hot out there at the moment. Actually now finally making some time back with P12 for him. We expected so much more from Moisov after his dominance in the first race, but Romero decided to try and come back. Now Yamanaka down the 14th. This guy's really fighting hard. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, Gallo and Kokibun have come in for the pit stop. The first of elite pack to come in. There's our first look at the fuel. Looks like Gallo did really well in fuel, actually, despite being out front for the majority. He's only got a little bit less than Kokibun, so a good job fuel saving by both drivers there. But Kokibun should be out first, I think, if they are putting in the same amount of fuel. We'll wait and see.
It's going to be really close indeed between them as well. And Fraga, Serrano and Tapai continuing on. So Gallo and Kokibun are trying to get the overcut here, the undercut rather, I should say. And it'll be the overcut then for Fraga and Tapai as it stands. Let's see what happens. It's going to feel like it's taking an age to put that fuel in there. Bit of a splash and dash, but there's only 7 laps remaining. You don't need to put too much fuel in. Out of the pit lane they come. Gallo still just ahead of Kokibun then. So, as you said, Jimmy, despite leading the way, he was able to hold off enough of an advantage to keep the Japanese driver behind.
Well, interestingly, Gallo put less fuel in than Kokibun did, so I think maybe a bit more confident in his fuel-saving ability. It does mean he won't be able to push as hard towards the end of the race. He does have to save fuel. That's sort of the trade-off. You can put more fuel in takes you longer in the pit stop, that means you can just turn the car up to the max and go flying at the end, or you can just alter the track position. Here is Takuma Miyazono and Coco Lopez. So the gap now between the second group and the first group is about 5.7 seconds. Miyazono is leading that second group with Coco Lopez close behind you. He's gained back that time that he lost in the pit stop there. He's now right on the rear, I say spoiler, the rear fin, I think is the right word for this car, coming down the Rivage of Takuma Miyazono. Great to see these guys. They've been around for so long, Miyazono and Lopez, and still at the top of that game, no doubt. Great to see them on circuit together. I'm interested to see what they can do in these last 7 laps.
Down the hill and towards who on the drivers go then, and I wonder if this is compromising Lopez's race, because he was easily the closest of the drivers outside of the top 5, and now he's stuck behind Miyazono, who's not had a brilliant race of things as has Lopez, but let's see whether they're just going to be working together. They're setting relatively consistent lap times, so after all the pit stops have played out for the top 3, let's see what the gap is going to sit at between them. Through into the Fania chicane we go here with Valerio Gallo and Ryota Kokubun then, getting some heat into those medium compound tyres that they're going to be stuck on for the end then of this race. And you'd expect Serrano, Tobai and Fraga to be coming into the pit lane now as they do so. And look at the fuel there for Adam Tobai, exactly as you predicted. It's almost half what it is for Serrano and Fraga, so he's going to be out of the fight for the win here.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy really, that one tiny mistake he made going over the top of Radion, and that's essentially ruined his whole race. He went out the draft, couldn't save the fuel, was forced to use a lot of fuel to stay with the front four drivers, but now his pit stop's going to be quite a chunk longer than there, so he's going to just end up in the same position he was after his moment. So a shame for Adam to buy, but it just shows you how competitive this grand final is. You make one little mistake and it can cost you the entire race.
Out of the pit lane then comes the Spaniard. Where is he going to emerge in relation to the rest of the field? Well, Gallo and Kokubun are ahead as they were before their pit stops, but the advantage is a lot bigger than it was. 2.4 seconds it sits at now, so that's interesting, isn't it? Fraga down though in 4th place here, so it's all changed here, and now Fraga, from going from right behind Valerio Gallo, is now trying to cling onto a podium.
There's been a moment there for Fraga up above, because both Lopez and Miyazono are gaining big time on Fraga on this spread. It must be the moment going over the top, because the speed difference is massive. Lopez looks around the outside of Fraga, it's not going to quite make that stick, but look how much closer now these guys are. They've got the tire advantage too. Lopez goes up the inside there, coming out of the Lake Cobex, and can't quite get it done through there. Actually slows himself up, and that allows Miyazono back into the mix. So it's getting a bit tempting for these guys to fight right now, but there is still a relatively long way to go in this race. It isn't worth having these big scraps, but I think both of them need to be focusing on getting by Igor Fraga, who has just completely fallen off the pace.
The one advantage for Fraga is that those soft tyres are going to be coming towards the end of their shelf life sooner than the mediums will be. So though he might not have the pace advantage at the moment, if he can keep Lopez and Miyazono behind for 3-4 more laps or so, then the soft tyres will be getting towards they'll be getting more worn, they'll be getting less grip, and it might just be enough for Fraga to hold on to this 4th place. But if I were Fraga, I would be sat there thinking to myself, what on earth has gone wrong there? From battling for the race lead, he's now potentially going to be just missing out on a top 5 place.
It's about 5 seconds behind the leader now, and he was on the rear bumper before, so I don't really know how that's happened. There must have been a mistake somewhere. So Coco Lopez got the run now. This will be fairly cut and dry. Ben goes to the outside. He's going to have a run coming up towards the fastest corners in the circuit. It's a Blanchimont, a fast left-hander. So a little bit of a lift on these things. We'll see on exit as well. These cars like to slide around. There you go, looking back there, 234 Ks on the apex. That's a massive amount of speed. And now we come down to the bus stop. Heavy braking. There goes Miyazono. He's going to go for a stab as well up the inside of Igor Fraga. Fraga's going to try and keep the pace, but can't quite do it. Yeah, he can. That's a little bit rude by both of them there. Neither of them want to give up the space. But now look at that difference happened from Lopez and Miyazono, because Fraga sort of got in the way.
Well, now Miyazono really needs to make hay while the sun shines. He was ahead of Coco Lopez for so long. Now the tables have turned very quickly indeed. Through La Source we go, and you would imagine up through Rouge and Radion, that is where Miyazono is going to try and pounce. We ride on board with the 2020 Nations Cup winner then. Up through the top of the hill we go, and let's see how much more closing speed Miyazono is going to have then. Over the top we go into the slipstream. He's a bit further away than you would expect, so perhaps didn't get quite a good exit coming out of La Source. And of course Fraga in front has got the advantage of the slipstream there as well, and a penalty for Miyazono for track limit, so it's all gone wrong for the Japanese driver. It's going to cost him time. He'll serve that in the next penalty zone, but either way that's going to drop him right behind Fraga unless he can get ahead and pull out enough of a gap before he serves that penalty.
Like I said, Tom, it's one mistake. All it takes in these races, and that is Miyazono's mistake. I have a hard time now for seeing him challenging anyone for a decent position now in this race with that penalty and that time lost behind Fraga on that soft compound tyre. So it's a shame because he's usually really good around here, Miyazono. As is, to be fair, Coco Lopez, who has shown that once again as he clears off into the distance there. His gap now to Jose Serrano in front is 2.8 seconds. So here's Fraga. Oh, here's why.
Oh, he spun on the way into the pit lane.
Oh, Igor. Well, there you go. That explains it. We had no idea what happened with Igor Fraga, and it's so easy just to do that. Just grab a wheel on the grass there, slide it on the way in, and that's Igor's mistake. What is going on with these guys?
The last time I saw that was Carlos Salazar. Do you remember in the top 16 superstars last year at Catalunya? He spun on the way into the pit lane. Well, pressure's getting to him, that's for sure, and it's cost him a chance of the race win. It's costing him a podium position, and it might even cost him a place to Miyazono here. He might be down from potentially finishing on the top of the podium to 6th place, Igor Fraga.
That's mad. Of course, the grand final points as well. That will put him off the podium, paying positions in the grand final, just full stop the entire showdown. So, oh man, that's a massive development. But anyway, we'll try and recover ourselves. There is Miyazono is now trying to do the same thing with his 0.5 second penalty. And Galena Stroza in there as well. He's come back from a little bit further down the field now. Of course, with Miyazono's penalty and Fraga on the slower compound tyre, this might be a couple of easy pickings here for Angel. So here's Fraga then, coming out of the source at the moment, now back down the hill. In the background, Angelina Stroza to Miyazono in the draft behind Igor Fraga. We're going to see his penalty now. Penalty line just at the end of the Keppel Straight, I should say. So we'll see the penalty start to flash, it will slow down, and then there is the penalty bar filling up. And when that fills up, he will hit the brakes at 0.5 per second and just disappear from view for Igor Fraga. It's been very demoralising there for the Japanese driver.
That's so disappointing there for Miyazono. It might pop him in a slipstream range here as well, because it's not just the half a second that you lose, it's also the speed that you lose going down that straight as well. So it ends up being more like a second, and he's going to have to keep a watchful eye on his mirrors. Angel Nostroza, who incidentally has ended up being the fastest man in this race so far. He said at the quickest lap of a 2:16.4, incredibly fast from the Chilean driver, and he is one of the only drivers in the lower half of the top 10 inside the 2:17s, the low 2:17s I should say, so that's really impressive. And let's see whether Nostroza, who's now less than a second behind Takuma Miyazono, is going to be able to do anything. On board we are with the Japanese driver, down through into Puon then. And if you're Miyazono, what are you thinking here? It's just damage limitation surely at this point, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, you probably use the best of a soft tyre at this point. I mean, there is a point at the start of the stint where the soft is quite considerably faster than the medium, but that time has now passed, and that's the time you want to make those moves, make those overtakes. And I think he's lost that chance now. All he can do is just go around, try and keep it safe, try and avoid any more penalties, and maybe pick up the pieces of Fraga starts to fall off the pace even more. Meanwhile, front of the field, Gallo and Kokubun, these are going to be our two to the line, I think. Serrano is there in the background, but he's slightly out of draft range. Now remember, Gallo did take slightly less fuel than Ryota Kokubun though, so he has to save a little bit more than Kokubun does towards the end of the race to get there. There are predicted points, of course, if things ended as it were. Gallo would take the overall win from Kokubun, but Jose Serrano picking up third place from Fraga after that mistake, ran it fourth.
It's going to be a winner-takes-all strategy then for these guys between Kokubun, Gallo and possibly Serrano as well if he can close down that gap, but it's going to have a hard-on task. He is the quickest of the three drivers at the moment, Jose Serrano, but not by enough, only by a couple of tenths of a second. So into La Source we go then, in towards the closing stages of this grand final for the World Series Showdown. Riding on board here with Ryota Kokubun then, down the hill we go and then up the climb through Eau Rouge and Radial. Let's have a look as we keep on board with Kokubun here and see whether he lifts, see how much he is going to have to lift, because the good thing about Valerio Gallo is he knows he can save fuel and keep the speed as well. We saw that in his first pit stop. He was only a few litres less than everybody else around him.
Sometimes all it takes is a few litres. If you're 1 litre short of the line, that's still only 1 litre, and that will slow you down big time running out of fuel around here. So you want to make sure you are within that threshold, as we still remain on board with Ryota Kokubun coming through Lake Yon. Again, seeing how the car handling changes throughout the stint on that medium compound tyre, not quite as agile as you were on the soft before. In the background, Jose Serrano not quite gaining. That gap is sort of consistent around 1.8 seconds. Coque Lopez, though, is gaining a little bit on his countryman, 1.6 seconds now, but Miyazono now 4 seconds on the back of it.
I must say, I feel sorry for the stewards in this race, because I've seen another penalty being given there to Quentin Yahal. It's lighting up like a rental car dashboard, that graphic on the left-hand side of the screen. Dear me, they've been busy boys today.
They don't do any well. What are you talking about? Finally get him up doing some work. Good to see. So, but yeah, the race still a few laps remaining, so the strategy is now starting to come to a head. Who's played it best? Currently, Valerio Gallo is out front. So we're going to replay some action here. This is Fraga, Mierzona and Inestrosa. Kind of fancy Inestrosa here. He's got a big draft coming down the straight. Fraga leading this little pack. Mierzona in the draft as well. When he goes for the move, he does. Pulls to the inside. Mierzona passes Igor Fraga, as we sort of predicted on that soft compound tyre. Inestrosa fancies a bit of a stab as well. Fraga's going to have the line through here, so he should be out of the vent, but not for much longer, I'd imagine.
Do you remember Fraga after the first race said, oh yeah, I was just taking it easy because it doesn't really matter, I just needed to make it through into the top 8. Well, now he's going to have to really get his elbows out. We're going to have to see what Igor Fraga is made of, if there's anything he can do. Everybody else around him is on the soft compound of tyre, whilst he's stuck on the slower medium compound. They will be coming towards their own now into the latter stages because the softs that are on the likes of Mierzona and Inestrosa will be getting a little bit more worn, but I wonder if it's going to be a little bit too little too late. So 3 laps remain here at Spa-Francorchamps. It's advantage Valerio Gallo as it sits, the man who finished runner-up, of course, in the 2020 Nations Cup Championship to Takuma Mierzona, but it's another Japanese driver who he's having to keep his eye on, the 2019 Tokyo World Tour winner of Ryota Kokubun. Then over the top of the hill they go, and look at the closing speed there for Ryota Kokubun. Is he going to think about a move down in towards Lake Coombe? Well, he's certainly close enough. Gallo knows that. He goes defensive. They run side by side in towards Lake Coombe. Kokubun goes ahead. Onto the brakes they go. It's the Japanese driver in front, but he runs it a bit too hot into there. That allows Gallo to come through. There's a bit of contact as they get their elbows out. Gallo's back in front there. So this is getting very spicy indeed into the latter stages.
Yeah, the brakes and these things are from a 6 season. These guys got to remember that sometimes. Even a little bit more overspeed, you hit the brake and nothing will pretty much happen. It'll go straight on there. So we now know, and Gallo now knows, that Kokubun can have the run and can overtake there if he chooses to do so. This is going to change how Gallo moves his car now around that part of the circuit, because you sort of have these little trial runs almost. I think that was actually a genuine stab at the lead there for Kokubun, but obviously just getting a little bit too hot on the brakes on the way in. About 50,000 pounds again down the field there. Fraga's got one, Tobias got one, Quinton Yehull's got another one now, so things go from bad to worse for Igor Fraga, but he's out of it. These guys are not, and we'll keep an eye now on whether Kokubun's going to have another go. I think that we'll see a different body language from Gallo now this time around when we get to Lake Coombe again at the end of the Kemmel Straight.
Well, let's not forget that Valerio Gallo, we know how quick he is as a driver. We rate him very highly. He won, I should say, didn't win the first race, but finished very strongly indeed. Let's have a look at the point standings. As you can see, now 32 points it would sit between Gallo and Kokubun. So as we said earlier on, it is a winner-takes-all strategy then for these drivers. Kokubun very close indeed behind Valerio Gallo. Don't think he's going to be close enough to launch a move into the bus stop chicane, especially with the old biscuit barrel brakes on this Ford GT40 Mark IV race car. Look at the 2 Spaniards very close behind there. Coque Lopez has just been closing that gap down to Jose Serrano. Lopez could be on for a podium here as well.
Yeah, if we could, we'd play the theme from a certain shark-based movie, but we can't, otherwise we'll get in a lot of trouble. But that's how it looks right now, the 2 Spaniards bearing down on Gallo and Kokubun. So now, here we go again. Another chance at an overtake for Ryota Kokubun. I'm really interested to see what happens this time. So we're in the draft. We're coming down to Eau Rouge. That's the left, and the right is Radion. Over the crest of the crest of the hill we go, and we're now deep in the slipstream. We're getting the draft. We have an overspeed in the car in front. The gap is coming down every second now. Will Kokubun look to the inside here? He's staying in the draft. They're both on the outside at the moment. Let's see what happens. Gallo then goes defensive last moment there, but I'm fairly sure he's overshot that by quite some way. Gallo there outbrakes himself, goes wide, and Ryota Kokubun takes the lead there. I think he was just driving the spears a little bit there, Tom.
He's going to be kicking himself for that, Valerio Gallo is, and he's picked up a half-second penalty to boot there as well. Valerio Gallo is going to be out of the running for this race win. All that Ryota Kokubun then has got to do, separating him from the top spot in the World Series Showdown for the Nations Cup, is just finish this race in the position he sits in, and he'll win by 2 points to Valerio Gallo. Meanwhile, in the background, you can see Serrano and Lopez closing up on one another, and Gallo's second place could be under threat here from Serrano and Lopez before too long. So this is getting really interesting in the closing stages of the race. There's less than a lap and a half now remaining here at Spa-Francorchamps, and Gallo has gone from holding on to the race lead to potentially missing out on a podium if Serrano and Lopez can get themselves into threat. Where have we heard that before? You might be asking. Igor Fraga, about 10 laps ago.
Yeah, things might be tricky now for Gallo with that penalty, because as you say, Tom, it's going to slow him right down one of the fastest bits of the circuit. And he's going to be under fire from 2 cars behind. One of them, Coque Lopez, on that soft compound tyre. I wonder how that tyre's holding up. It must be getting a little bit skaty out there now for Coque as we go up the hill. But of course, the toe has now been broken to go to Coquebin, so Gallo's now got to push on his own and of course use any more fuel. I'm not sure how much fuel he's got in the tank, Gallo. He came out of less fuel than the Coquebin, and now he's having to push to try and keep ahead of the Spaniards. So coming down now to the bus stop, coming on to the last lap of the race. Can Gallo hold on to second place from a charging Serrano and Lopez behind on the soft tyre? One way to find out.
Absolutely, over the timeline we go then to start the final lap here at Spa-Francorchamps. It's Ryota Coquebin that leads the way, 1.8 seconds. He is now ahead of Gallo, but Gallo has got that half-second penalty as well to serve at the top of the hill, at the Kemmel Straight, the fastest point on this Spa-Francorchamps circuit. And you know that Serrano and Lopez are going to have a go if they can do. So down the hill we go, up through Eau Rouge, into Radion for the final time. Bit of a slide there from Serrano, but he gets it on the straight and narrow. Here's the penalty then for Valerio Gallo, and surely he is going to lose out to Serrano and to Lopez. He sensibly moves off the racing line there for Gallo. That's what he needs to do. He comes back into it though. Let's see whether Serrano can get ahead. He certainly can. Lace on the brakes. Here comes Lopez trying around the outside into Lecum as well. Really close indeed between Lopez and Gallo there. Serrano gets himself into second. Lopez isn't quite able to take advantage, but what a great move there. And now Gallo sits in the middle of a Spanish sandwich.
And that of course means that Jose Serrano would be second overall in the points if the standings stay as they are. So Serrano is now going to be defending for his life to Valerio Gallo behind. Of course, Coque Lopez, as you say, on the faster tyre as well. So Gallo really under threat at the moment. All this does really is help out Ryota Coquebin. He's now going to just cruise away, I think, at the head of the field. 2.3 seconds the gap now as these guys squabble over second place.
This is going to be an absolutely fantastic end to this one, because you know that if Lopez sniffs an opportunity, he is going to find his way up the inside of Valerio Gallo, and surely it is going to come in the bus stop chicane. That is going to be the only opportunity really that Lopez is going to have between here and the checkered flag to get himself onto the podium there. So into the left-hander of Stavolo 1 we go. Then it's going to be Stavolo 2. Valerio Gallo there in third place. He's doing everything he can to try and hold on to that podium. Jose Serrano, a great race it has been from the Spaniard. Brilliant overtake on the final lap, and now just a few more corners separating him from second place. But here comes Gallo then, trying to go the long way around the outside through to Blanchimont. Surely he's not going to make that stick, and indeed he thinks better of it and backs out into the bus stop chicane we go then for the final time. Brilliant racing here for the podium positions. Lopez having a look up the inside of Gallo. Is he going to make it stick? Really close indeed, bit of contact between them. Ryota Coquebin wins the grand final in the World Series Showdown. To the line then. Oh, Serrano slows on the line. Has he run out of fuel or something? I don't know what happened there, but Jose Serrano from second place means that Gallo and Lopez overtake him. Well, that was a very climatic end to it.
Yeah, really unsure what happened there. It didn't look like the car coughed. That might have been it. Of course, fuel was a big part of this race, and just slowed right at the last moment. Almost got ran into there by Gallo. But that means your finishing order there, your Hall's also run out of fuel. So I think maybe, Tom, that might have been it.
And I think that's going to cost Serrano second place in the overall standings here then as well. So, well, big drama at the end of that grand final. Huge congratulations to Ryota Coquebin, though. What a brilliant end to the race for the Japanese driver. The grand final then, and the Nations Cup World Series Showdown goes to Ryota Coquebin. 24 points on the board for the Japanese driver. Gallo in second, Lopez in third, Serrano slowing at the line there, missing out on that podium. That is cruel luck.
Yeah, really hard there for Serrano, but that's just how it is, and this is how it affects the overall point ranking. So Ryota Coquebin, of course, takes the win after his grand final result. 30 points for him. Valerio Gallo just about keeps second place after Serrano's issue on the line there. And Serrano, again, only just holding third from Coque Lopez. Drama right at the end there.
So our 2021 World Series Showdown Nations Cup winner is Ryota Coquebin from Japan. And I'm very delighted to say that he's with me now. Hey Ryota, how are you doing?
もう素直に嬉しい気持ちでいっぱいです。
I bet. Talk us through your strategy. How did you manage to come out on top when everyone was playing a very serious game?
はい。ですね、作戦というのは特に考えていなくて、燃料の節約をとにかく意識して今回は走りました。
I suppose that's a strategy still, but it certainly paid off. What did you think of some of the new drivers who've now come into the World Series?
はい、どの選手も本当に非常に速い選手たちばかりで、この先ライバルとして立ちはだかってくるんじゃないかなと思います。ですので自分も負けないように努力していきたいと思います。
Can you talk us through your battle with Gallo?
最後の15周あたりで仕掛けようと思って実際に一度仕掛けたんですが、オーバースピードで自分が突っ込みすぎてしまってガロ選手にまた抜き返されてしまったんですが、16周目に、今度は逆にガロ選手がオーバースピードに突っ込んでいったところを差し返せたので、まあ熱いバトルでした。
Well, huge congratulations. You're the winner. Well done. You must go celebrate however you like, and we will see you again very soon. Well done, Ryota. So yeah, huge congratulations to our World Series Showdown winner, Ryota Kokubun. Tom and Jimmy, what did you make of that grand final?
Well, Spa-Francorchamps always delivers, and the combination of those circuits, those drivers and those cars made it so interesting.
Yeah, those cars really suit a couple of drivers, but not everyone. We'll get into that in a minute.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's take a look at Igor Fraga's race then, shall we? Because it all kind of went a bit wrong for the Brazilian. He led the way from pole position up through Eau Rouge and Raidillon, but then coming towards the end of the lap, made a bit of an error.
Yeah, I think he forgot where the middle pedal was here, coming down to the bus stop. Just went far too deep on the brakes, went off into the infield. Had to, of course, slow down to come back on again. Lost momentum, and that allowed Valerio Gallo up into first place.
Hugely impressive stuff from him. And then you can see here Ryota Kokubun on the back of Valerio Gallo. Gallo out-braking himself coming into Les Combes. A little bit late on the brakes, offline as well. That allowed Kokubun into the race lead, where he would never be seen again. Coming through to take the checkered flag in a commanding style. Great to see the 2019 World Tour Tokyo winner up on top again.
Yeah, his form recently has been fantastic. He's at the point now where I think he is one of the best drivers in the field. I think that performance really cements that.
Yeah, absolutely right. Another Japanese driver, though, who didn't have such a good run of it was Takuma Miyazono. Let's take a look and see how his race ended up, because this is on the final lap. Angel Inestrosa and Igor Fraga are battling with him, as we can see here. Going into Les Combes, on the outside there is Inestrosa, on the inside is Miyazono. They both run it deep. Fraga sees an opportunity then on the inside through the left-hander, tries to take the outside line coming through the following right-hander, really aggressively squeezes Miyazono, and then all hell breaks loose coming in towards the bus stop.
Yeah, of course, Miyazono started this lap in 5th position, then coming into the bus stop, goes down to 7th as Fraga goes up the inside, and then Adam Tapai in the background sees an opportunity, takes it, and takes the place off Miyazono, meaning 5th to 8th in one lap. That's not what we're used to seeing, really, from Takuma, is it?
No, and he's not the only driver who had a bad day as well. Jose Serrano ran out of fuel, believe it or not, on the final lap, right at the checkered flag. Just unbelievable, really. I mean, how it all sort of worked out for these guys. Let's take a look and see what happened here to Jose Serrano. So we're driving on board with him out of the final corner. Have a listen. Accelerating up. And then it all goes wrong.
It goes to the gear, it's not there. No more fuel in the engine. Gallo and Coco Lopez just squeezed through there. And here's Serrano's reaction.
No me lo puedo creer, macho.
I understand to be upset, but this man, not so much.
Madre mía.
I think that's Spanish for what? What just happened?
Even we can translate that one. Just unbelievable there from Jose Serrano and from Valerio Gallo. Hugely impressive races, though, for our drivers at the top.
Yeah, real shame for Serrano at the end there, of course, but his loss definitely Coco Lopez's game.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's take a look then, shall we, at the standings. Taking the win in the Nations Cup for the World Series Showdown is Ryota Kokubun. Then comes Valerio Gallo, and then Coque Lopez there as well in 3rd position. And let's take a look and see what it means then for the points rankings for the World Series Showdown. It does mean that Ryota Kokubun sits at the top of the order from Gallo, from Serrano, though, who could have finished 2nd, but for running out of fuel.
Yeah, literally, last lap, last corner, last application from the throttle was the difference in him coming 2nd and 3rd. Still on the podium, but he'll be kicking himself after that.
Absolutely. Well, a huge congratulations to Ryota Kokubun for taking the win in the World Series Showdown in the Nations Cup.
Right then, whilst Tom goes to get himself beautified for the podium ceremony, we need to have a conversation about Michelin Driver of the Day. Tell me your thoughts and feelings. Actually, no, don't tell me your feelings, just tell me your thoughts.
OK, I don't feel, so it's fine. So I'm going to sort of try and take the event as a whole. Really easy just to grab people from the grand final and just do it that way. But I'm going to start at semi-final A. I mentioned Nikita Moisov, called the Czech driver. somehow managed to win the race by, I think it was about 2 seconds in the end. Doesn't sound like much, but that was a race that should have been won by tenths. So to get that gap on strategy and make that work, it's just big brain thinking. I'm all here for that. So.
Are you though?
Well, my own personal big brain thinking isn't quite as good. But also in that race, Adriano Carrazza, I think he started down, I think it was 10th or so, sort of down towards the back of the pack, and just mustered his way through in typical Carrazza fashion. Every time there's an opportunity, send, and managed to get himself, of course, into the grand final because of it. So really great driving from the Brazilian.
And honestly, you know, we get so transfixed with what's going on at the front of the pack, you end up like forgetting that actually there's some incredible driving going on back there. We need to keep eyes all over the place for this one.
I feel bad now because the next race I'm focusing just on the front of the pack.
Oh, well, all right. We can do both. It's fine.
Semi-final B. I'd say for Gallo, I think his drive was really good. Obviously, he won the race in the end, but it was more the way he went about doing it. He was stuck behind Igor Fraga for a little while. And the thing is, that's the word, he was stuck behind Igor Fraga. He was being held up. He just sort of patiently waited, then went, OK, now's the move, send, done. 2 more, and I'll be done.
2 more?
2 more, yeah, I'm sorry. So grand final, Ryota Kokubun, obviously amazing race with him and Gallo. Just sort of forced Gallo into that mistake, and it might look like that was just a mistake from Gallo, but that's sort of orchestrated. As a chasing driver, you know where you can put the other guy when you're chasing him down. So really great move by him to obviously win the whole thing. I've got to give a little bit of a shout out to Jose Serrano, because he would have been second in the standings overall on points if it were not for running out of fuel in the last corner and being overtaken. But
So
good effort,
awkward.
regardless.
And it's not the first driver to have that happen in a really
Let's got to
important
chat
race.
about that. Put more fuel in the car, lads. Just
Just a little bit, just a touch. Don't you get that anxiety, you know, when you're on the motorway and it's like hitting red and you're like, should have stopped at that last service station? Anyway, there's some really, really great options there for our viewers to consider. So do please get involved and vote for your Michelin Driver of the Day via Gran Turismo Facebook, Twitter or Instagram stories. Now, just before you start posting your votes, please join us for our podium ceremony, which Tom will guide us through with the support of our live audience in Japan. Over to you, Tom.
Thanks very much, Julia. Ladies and gentlemen, please show your appreciation to our podium finishers in today's World Series Showdown Nations Cup event. The producer of the Gran Turismo series, Kazunori Yamauchi, will present the third place trophy. In third place, representing Spain, it's Jose Serrano. To present our second place trophy, please welcome Yasuhiro Tanaka, Executive Officer of Brand Management of the Management Office of BVS Japan. In second place, representing Italy, it's Valerio Gallo! And Yamauchi-san returns to the stage to present the winner's trophy. And the winner of the 2021 FIA Certified Gran Turismo Championships World Series Showdown Nations Cup event, representing Japan, it's Ryota Kokubun! Ladies and gentlemen, your respect please for the national anthem of our winning driver, representing Japan, Ryota Kokubun. Huge congratulations to Ryota Kokubun, our winner of this year's Nations Cup World Series Showdown.
huge well done to Ryota Kokubun, and congratulations to our 16 drivers who've qualified for the next 2 rounds of the World Series. With the 10 points for winning Showdown added to their World Series points, it means the overall standings now look a bit like this.
So right now it's Italian, Valerio Gallo leading on 12 points from Ryota Kokubun, of course, who won today, full house for him, with Coca Lopez and Jose Serrano currently tied on points in 3rd position. And those points will be vital when we get to the World Finals at the end of the year, but there is still a long way to go.
Yeah, you're not wrong about that. Well, we can't wait until next time, so a big thank you to you for joining us, to Jimmy, and of course to Tom, and of course to our wonderful live audience in Tokyo. What an incredible day of racing that they've had. We're looking forward to seeing you for the next round of the World Series, but in the meantime, stay safe and we'll see you soon. Bye.